think this is over to me, Marisa.
Yep, you're kicking off.
Welcome to our first ever online event for Equitas in partnership with Horse Sport Ireland. We wanted to run an event to celebrate International Women's Day. So I'm just going to set the scene. If not us, who? If not now, when? Today I'm going to set the scene on the origins of Equitas. It was January 12th, 2022, when I got a call from one of my closest friends in the whole world, my sister. We are really close, but that day there was venom in her voice. That day she hated all men. What I didn't know at that stage was Ashling Murphy had been murdered, went out for a run. She was going for a run. On that call, my sister challenged me. She called me out. You run a media empire, Shane. What are you going to do for women? My reply was honest. I don't know, sis. I don't know, but please leave it with me. My heart broke, my energy sank. What could I do? Why did my sister feel that way? What way did all the other women hearing that heartbreaking news feel? I didn't sleep for about 3 weeks. I mean 2 to 3 hours a night if even. Mike and I had just launched the Grassick Gazette. It was really starting to take off, but this consumed me all day and all night for about 3 weeks until a plan came to me. Launch a media brand just for women. Give women a platform. Give women a community and amplify women's voices. Be a positive force for change. There was nothing like this in the equestrian world, and I wanted to build it. I rallied a group of people around me, 90% of them female, and explained my vision. They became a sounding board for a few weeks. An advisory panel, if you will. That sounded, and to me and Mike, looked great. Until late one Sunday night at 1:30 a.m., I got a call from another one of my closest friends, Tracy Keogh, the founder of Grow Remote, an incredible startup company. We're close and we have very frank chats with each other. I think Tracy's exact words to me were, so you have 6 women advising 2 guys that are going to lead a women's brand. I repeat, 2 guys, Shane, and 6 women. I'll be honest, I didn't get our problem. I didn't understand why, again, another female close to me was mad at me. But she was right. A guy can never understand what it's like to be female. A guy can never understand what it's like to be a woman. Never. So I got the message. Equitas, to truly fulfill its potential and to embody the real ethos of what we are trying to build, needed female leadership. Needed female leaders, and not just managers, co-founders. The following morning, maybe 6, 7 a.m., which is early for me. I'm not like the rest of you equestrians. I'm a night owl. I'm ringing Mike. Mike, we need 2 co-founders. We need female co-founders. Write down 2 names and I will too. The incredible thing was we both wrote down the same names, just in a different order. That very morning, an hour or 2 later, we rang the 2 names on that list and invited them to be co-founders of Equitas. No investment needed. We just wanted them to be themselves. And together we would create a brand that stretched across the world and would champion women. A brand through which we could empower change together. And so, the first worldwide media brand for women in the equine industry was launched. We had our soft launch on July 1st, 2022. And within 5 days, Equitas Edition 1 was read in 42 countries. That journey, this story, that first phone call, I will leave you with how it started. If not us, who? If not now, when? And there isn't a me anymore or an I, there's an us. And I'm privileged to sit here beside my 2 co-founders in Equitas, Sarah Ellibert and Myrna O'Toole-Brennan. They will be your hosts for the night. They are 2 of the most impressive mothers, females, and co-founders I've ever had the privilege of working with. I am buzzing to see how they get on tonight. I'm buzzing to see how the event goes. And I will hand it over to my co-founders, my partners in crime, Sarah Ellibert and Myrna O'Toole-Brennan. Take it from here, ladies.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction, Shane. Wow, it's a hard one to follow. I just want to take the time to welcome everybody here. This is our first Equitas online event. Please be a little bit patient with us. As I said, it's our first time. We are new to this, so that we can. But we are very, very excited to have you joining us here tonight. It's an honor to bring this to you alongside my amazing partner, Shana Myrne. This event marks a pivotal moment in our journey so far with Equitas, and it makes it extra special the day that's in it, International Women's Day. The overarching theme this year is Inspire Inclusion. And this is something that is so important to us here at Equitas. With that being said, was that we are not perfect in this area. We do not claim to even be great at this. But what we are doing is trying to understand where people are coming from. We're trying to understand the struggles that they face and how we can help. We are trying to educate ourselves on how we can do better, be better, and from there, how we can share this so it radiates throughout the industry that we know and love. Equestrianism is at a point where many are blind to the issues, and some are just simply accepting of the status quo. But we are here to question it. We are here to be a voice for women. We are here to highlight issues and be part of the solution. And we look forward to taking you on this journey with us. Thank you for the start of this. And now I'm going to hand you over to my co-host for the evening, the fabulous Myrn O'Toole.
And how do I follow the both of those? Thank you very much. Thank you, Sarah. Tonight, we are honoured to be joined by a stellar lineup of keynote speakers and panellists who stand at the pinnacle of their respective sections within the equine industry and beyond. The calibre of women who are speaking is a testament to the talent we have in our ever-growing community. Women from all across the world who embody the very premise of our industry and are paving a way for the younger generation to ensure we all progress to inspire inclusion together. Tonight's discussions and speakers promise to be a source of inspiration for all. So, in the spirit of inspiring inclusion, let us embrace the wisdom shared by these remarkable women. Their stories, expertise, and passion will ignite a flame of motivation within each of us. Thank you for joining us on this transformative evening as we unite to celebrate the achievements of women worldwide and set the stage for a future defined by equity, empowerment, and progress. So, with this in mind, I would like to introduce our first key speaker. As Equitas endeavours to draw inspiration not only from within our industry, but also outside our industry, to ensure we are inspiring inclusion for all, I have the privilege of introducing Shana, a female sole founder with her company, Tailr. Tailr was developed to tackle inconsistent sizing and excessive garment waste from manufacturing. The technology empowers brands to streamline production, enhance sustainability, and deliver consistent sizing from season to season. Shana has solely raised capital and created true distribution, redefining production for the clothing industry. If you have any questions, please pop them in the question box below. And Shana, thank you for joining us, and I can't wait to hear you speak.
Thank you so much. What an introduction for everyone. And I'm like, okay, I have my work cut out for me here. Firstly, thank you so much for the invitation to speak tonight, and welcome everyone. And I hope that what I'm about to share with you is, I hope you get something from it. So to lay out what I'm going to do, I am going to speak on my journey, and there's 3 running themes throughout my journey. And I hope that if that's all that you remember, is that the 3 things that I want you to take away from tonight. The first one is always listen to your gut. I think that, you know, it's something that serves women really well, that when you're in that scenario and your gut is shouting at you, that you really need to listen to it. And it's the same in business. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't listen to our gut and we shove it down, and we really should listen to it more. The second one is remember to find the joy in the everyday. Business gets really, really tough, and the world is really, really tough as well at the moment. So sometimes you do have to make that little bit of space, whether it's self-care for yourself. I know that's easier said than done, but making the time for that, finding some kind of joy in your day. And the third one is to seek out people who have gone before you. Seek them out, because if you can't see it, you can't be it. And that really changed for me. I was struggling to match my ambition level with people giving me advice on, you're never going to be able to do this. You're a sole founder. You need a co-founder. You need this, you need that. And I struggled to see that I could actually do it. When I saw someone who had done it, I was like, well, they've done it. I'm going to do it. And I did do it. So be that person for other people coming down the road, and also seek out people who are in front of you on the road. And that is really important. So they're my 3 things. With that in mind, I'm going to tell you about my journey and why those 3 things I should have done a lot sooner because they wasted time, and how they're going to serve me in the future for my ambition level. When I first set out to start the company, it was not called Tailr, it was called Tailr. And I started it in 2018. When I first went and spoke to people about starting my business at the end of 2017 and told them what I wanted to do, they said to me, "That's great, but how do you know they even want this?" And I was like, well, I'm from industry. I am a garment technologist. I've been in this industry for a very long time. I have the experience. And the answer I got back was, "You're not your customer. Don't waste your time building this for yourself. Don't build it and they will come. You're not your customer. You need to look at something else and somewhere else, because this isn't what you need to do." I took that advice, ignored my gut, and for 2.5 years, I wasted time trying to push a product to market that, number one, didn't align with what I truly wanted to solve in the industry. And number two, I absolutely knew it wasn't going to work. So 2.5 years brought me to March 2020. The whole world was shutting down and I was exhausted. I was so tired from, number one, being told that if I was ever going to make it work, I had to hustle more. And I was like, what does hustle even mean? This male stereotypical tech founder role. Oh, you need to hustle. If you're not getting there, you're not hustling enough. You're not working enough. You're not doing enough. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. So I was physically exhausted and mentally exhausted because I didn't fit that cookie cutter that was a hustler tech CEO. The world was closing down and I had completely lost my confidence, lost my mojo, lost everything. So I took a step back and took some time to think about what I really wanted. And anyone who has ever listened to me speak before or listened to my podcasts have heard me give this part of the story before. It was the end of 2020 and I was in the shower and I was really angry. And I was getting more angry. And the more I was like scrubbing my hair. And the reason why I was getting so angry was because I was frustrated. It had been a few months. I had stopped working on Tailr, and I knew that going back to a full-time role was not for me. I knew that I had to bring a product to market, and I knew I wanted to run my own business. And I was frustrated that no one had taken the time to sit with me and say, maybe it's the product, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And I was like, fuck that, fuck all of this. And, I'm going to build for me. I am my customer. I'm going to build exactly what I would have wanted when I was a garment technologist. So I got out of the shower and I started writing a document on the features of a platform that I would have absolutely loved to use while I was a garment technologist. It actually ended up being a 30-page document, but that's fine. So I sent this document to someone that was running an external development company in Ireland. And the first thing was first. When I was working with Tailr, I was working with a developer that had started to build technology. I was funding it with a small pre-seed investment from Enterprise Ireland and my own money. And again, my gut feeling was telling me that he was not right. He was not right for the role. What we were building wasn't right. And there was a lot of red flags. In the end, I reached out to Fiona and Fourth Theorem and I said to her, number one, I have a feeling that what we're building is not good. And number two, I know the way we need to bring the company. It's not Tailr. I need to completely scrub everything we've done and start again. And it turned out I was right. And I was 30K down. Completely, all that tech had to be absolutely removed and started again. When you're on the floor physically and mentally from a 2.5-year run, and then that happens, it is, and draining is not the word. I have likened it to kind of like a mental breakdown, but not quite there. So it was really tough and really hard, but I kept going because I knew that what I wanted to bring to the market was going to change the industry. So in 2021, I had started working with Fourth Theorem, and at about August, September, we started developing the platform, and I was finding it very stressful. I was not having much joy in my life, and it was really tough. I was working on my own, so I needed to start bringing in some joy and fun before I got wore out again. That didn't happen quite then. So I powered on through, and we got to 2023. Sorry, 2022. I get a year ahead of myself. 2022, we launched our MVP. And I made some phone calls to some brands, told them what we were doing, and they were like, absolutely. If you're telling me what you're building is going to solve this issue for me, then I want to trial it. So we got some brands on to trial it, and one of the brands had started to see a saving of 4.5 hours every day. I knew straight away that what we were building was absolutely the right way to go. And it's not that it was easy, but the frustration that I had with Style Rep wasn't exactly there with Tailr. So a name rebrand, amazing test results, amazing brands that had been testing the platform. And I said, I am going to go out and start fundraising. That was fun because being a sole female founder, non-tech female founder of a deep tech company, and you're going out to investors, and I had everything thrown at me from, Shana, you are about that age, if I invest in you, are you going to go and have children? To, this would be really good if you had, a male, a co-founder, if you had a co-founder. And I'm like sitting there going, a male, is that really what makes you feel better? And in the end, I had gotten really tired of hearing this. And there was an investor that I had been speaking to, an angel investor in London. And he said the exact same thing, would you bring on a co-founder? And it's not that I snapped, but I turned around and I said, listen, I have no problem with bringing on a co-founder, but that person has to be perfect. They have to have industry experience, and a lot of industry experience. They have to have built specifically on the production side of the fashion industry. They have to have a good network, and I have to get on with them really well because I always hear of issues between co-founders and breaking up. So I have to get on with them really well. If that person magically appears, then yes, I absolutely will consider bringing on a co-founder, but I am not prepared to bring on just about anyone to make you feel comfortable. And from that moment on, it changed. I was never asked that question ever again by anyone. And I don't know if it was just because my energy level started to say, screw this, it's all on me, no one else, or if maybe people started getting more credibility from me. So that led to about September 2022. Everyone had told me, don't cold outreach to an investor, you need a warm lead. And again, I was set to break every single rule. I was going out looking for women who had gone down the path before me that had raised, and I had found one or two. And one story that really stood out to me was Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. And she had said a story that, she really listened to her gut and that she always went with what energetically felt right. And she gave this story that she was at an all male, female, accelerator, and that all the men at the table would take the absolute piss out of her the whole time going, oh yeah, Sarah, what are you feeling this week? What are you going with? And she said it was funny because a few years later, when she had reached, I'm pretty sure she had already reached $1 billion valuation at this point, they suddenly all started ringing her going, how do I start listening to my energy? How do I start listening to my gut? And she was like, now you want to start listening. So listening to those stories, I decided, you know what, I can do this. And I am not from a very privileged background. I don't have the network. I don't know that many investors. So I started cold outreach and I took a systematic approach to it. And one of the first cold outreaches that I did was Amy from Delta Partners. And we jumped on a call and Amy then led my round. So it was still a long process. It took from September to December of 2022. And then they committed And I closed the first part of my round in March 2023, and then I closed Delta in May. So in the end, I raised 700,000. I raised it from 2 venture capitalists, one in Ireland and one in the UK. I brought on 5 angels. 2 were industry powerhouses. One was my chairman. One was actually this girl that I had met along the journey. We're her first ever investment, and she's in her early 20s. And I was absolutely floored by her enthusiasm. And she came to me and she was like, I don't know what your minimum check size is, but if you'd have me, I'd love to invest. And I was like, if I was that clued in when I was your age, I probably would be running the world by now, but absolutely, please do come on board. And then another guy is, you know, he has a CFO background. It's always good to have the finance guys as an investor, just in case. So after that, I had closed my round, and the magician Magnus appeared, who is my CTO, and he was everything that I had actually been looking for. And if it had been a year earlier, maybe I might have actually brought him on as co-founder, but I didn't need to. I hired my team in the end. And I've scaled my team to 8 people now. We have launched 2 products so far. One is a fabric dashboard for fabric mills, and the other is Tailr Essentials for clothing brands. Even 2 days ago, I was demoing the platform to a massive international brand that is based in the US. And when I finished demoing the platform, I still got that nervous feeling in my gut that this hasn't gone well, because no one was saying anything. There was 8 people on the call. And when I finished speaking, there was an audible gasp and then a wow. And he was like, I'm not saying this, but I've never even seen anything like this. This is amazing. And that every time I hear something like that, it's like I'm onto something, I'm on the right way. And I always think back onto the 3 things that I wish I had done sooner. Number 1, listen to my gut. Number 2, found the joy a lot earlier. And number 3, looked for the women who were ahead of me so that I could start marching down that road a lot sooner. So with that, I will conclude, and I welcome any questions that anyone has for me. Please don't be shy.
What an amazing story. Like, just hands down, absolutely unbelievable. We have a couple of questions in, so I will start with the first one. You're a trailblazer in your field, and with that comes the fear of the unknown and skepticism from yourself and others. How important is it to back yourself and have self-belief?
Absolutely back yourself. Funny story. So Shane, you obviously know that I was on Gary Fox's podcast, and he had put snippets up on TikTok, and the trolls came for me, and I was called everything from narcissistic to self-indulgent because I had said that we should back ourselves. And I do not give a shit what anyone says. I will stand up and say, if that makes me a narcissist, I'm a narcissist. You have to back yourself. There are so many people that are out in the world that will gladly tear you down. The only person that sometimes you can rely on is yourself, and you have to back yourself, and you have to be fearless in that. It's not something that came natural to me. I absolutely had imposter syndrome at every single stage. And even now, I still sometimes get that way. I will still have those days where I panic and worry, you know, am I doing the right thing? How do I do this? How do I scale to the next level? Again, find the person who has gone the road before you, speak to them, listen to their voice, listen to how they did it, because they will instill some confidence into you. And then always remember, when Beyonce goes on stage, she steps into her alter ego, Sasha Fierce. If Beyonce has an alter ego, we can all have an alter ego. So step into your alter ego, step out of it. That's you. And yeah, just own the fear.
I love it. Own the fear and do it anyway. The comments coming in are fantastic. You're an inspiration. I love it. If you were to give one piece of advice to a younger you that was starting off, what would it be and why?
That is a really good question. What's my character limit on this piece of advice?
You can have as long as you like, go for it.
I think it probably would be about the fear in taking that step. I always talk to people about wanting to start the business, but they are fearful. And look, I understand that. I get it. I have been there as well, but no one is going to come along and hand it to you. Don't sit around waiting for opportunity. If you have an idea, absolutely go for it, because I had an idea before, and when I came across the person who went with that idea, founded it, and is now wildly successful, you have that sickening feeling in your gut, like I missed out on such a big opportunity, and I really wish that I had overcome the fear and taken the step. Timing is never right. So you just have to put one foot in front of the other and just go for it. So if I had any advice to myself, it's to start sooner. Don't waste time. Just go for it. You'll figure it out along the way. And there's a really funny saying about entrepreneurship, and that is you're standing on the top of a cliff with a box of parts, and you have to jump off the cliff and start assembling the airplane or your parachute on the way down. And that is literally what it's like. And you just have to do that.
I love that. I love it. That is brilliant.
I come in. What have you learned about yourself and the journey? So there's lots of other founders watching this, people who are about to set up businesses or have currently set it up. When you look back now in the 4 or 5 years, the transition you've made, what are the key things you've learned about yourself that maybe surprised you a little on your journey as a sole female non-tech founder?
So I would never have said that I was strong or resilient. I was always, the person who would cry at TV ads, for example. And I never thought that I could build a company or lead a company. When you hear the term CEO, it's always, you think of that guy from Succession, like this big, strong, powerful. And I was like, oh, Jesus, that's just not me. And that's not even what a CEO actually is. A CEO is a leader who brings an amazing team of people together and, builds this amazing platform that you can sell to people and make a difference and absolutely change an industry. That's what a CEO actually is. It wasn't about being feared or having power or anything like that. It's like some of the best CEOs have some amazing team. And, I had heard the saying, don't be the most intelligent person in the room. And I have really done that with my team. Sometimes they're talking and I'm like, what are you even saying? Translate that into English for me, please. So I'm really, really lucky. But one of the things that has, in the past year especially, is the strength and resilience. When I announced my raise last June, the Irish Independent did a massive piece on me. Barbara Power, she wrote a piece and it was on page 17. And that morning, when I got the newspaper, I felt physically sick. I wanted to run and hide. I wanted to, just shut myself out in a room. I was so nervous and worried and embarrassed about that being in the newspaper. I was all over the place. Now I'm in Image magazine and I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's fine. Because number one, you can't please everyone. Sometimes there will be people that won't agree with you. And of course, the trolls that were on TikTok. And when I look back on how I felt last year and when I look at now, and I'm like, Jesus, that didn't faze me at all in the slightest. I realize how far I've come in strength and resilience. And that is something that has actually even impressed me. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Love it. Love it.
We have a couple more questions that have come in, but if it's okay with you, we might send them on to you, just to try and keep things flowing, and keep the night going. But thank you so much. That was absolutely inspirational. That was unbelievable. Talk about a powerhouse. Just hands down, absolutely amazing. It was a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And yes, please do send on. And if anyone does have any questions for me or anything, do follow me on Instagram. Don't be shy. Add me on LinkedIn and send me a message, send me a question, anything at all. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
It was our pleasure. Absolutely amazing. Couldn't think of a better way to start the night. Just fantastic. And with that, we are going to move on to our first panel. This panel, oh my word, I got very, very excited, not going to lie, when this all started to come together, lads. Our first panel tonight is women in sports. and it consists of women from all over the world, topping their areas in various different entities of the equine industry. So we are going to be joined by Jenni Leach from Flying Changes Mindset, Sally-Ann Grassick, founder of Thoroughbred Tales and ITV racing presenter, Helen, I apologize if I pronounce your second name wrong. I've been practicing this now. Diacono, designer and CPS of the cross country app, and Jessica Burke, international Grand Prix showjumpers. So as before, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to pop them into the box, and we will crack on and have a good chat with the ladies.
Mute. Have we got them all on? I'm missing someone on the timer.
You are. I have Sally-Ann, I have Helen, I have Jenni. I'm missing Jessica, please.
I'm trying to add her as a panelist, promote a panelist. Here we go.
Now. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
I hope you're all keeping well. It's all very exciting to actually see you. Can I call this face to face? Is this relatively face to face? Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. Jenni, I am going to start with you, if that is okay.
Yep.
Love it. Could you give a brief introduction to yourself and Flying Changes Mindset, please?
So I founded Flying Changes Mindset 10 years ago, so our 10th birthday this year, in a few weeks' time actually. And I founded it because I had a corporate career, because I grew up with the belief that there is no money in horses. And I was told to go and get a proper job, whatever one of those is, by my parents. So I did the usual thing, went off to university and got a corporate career. But it wasn't my passion. It wasn't what I loved. I just always wanted to be around horses, not from a horse background at all. But I ended up high flying in that career. I was a global corporate consultant, flying all over the world. Sounds glamorous, never is. And I just realized that it's not what I wanted to do. So I decided to combine all my passions, and I got qualified and I trained in everything I could. And then I left that job and set up my own company. And Flying Changes Mindset, we work with riders at any level, any discipline, from grassroots to Grand Prix, in every possible discipline, pretty much, I think we've worked with. And we help riders to overcome nerves, fear, anxiety, and to just love riding and to perform at their best in whatever that might mean, and feel successful again in whatever success is. So yeah, that's us really.
Wow. That is pretty cool now, to be fair. So we'll start off. I have a couple of questions here, but as we said the whole way along, if there's any questions, just pop them in the box and we can ask them then in the question panel afterwards. So what inspired you to enter the world of equine app development, and how do you see technology promoting inclusivity in the equestrian community?
That one for me?
Yeah.
Oh, because I don't have an app. Okay.
Oh,
I mean, that's in the plan. I was like, what do they know that I haven't told them? Did that get leaked?
We know everything that happens. How do you see technology promoting inclusivity in the equestrian community? How do you think that it can help to combine us all together?
Yeah, so although we don't actually have an app, there is one on the horizon. So yeah, because everything that we do actually is online, so it's all using technology. I did originally start off face to face, but of course that meant I was driving all over the place, and I'm based in the UK, and I was only getting to the UK people, and then I had some people in Europe and some people in Australia saying they wanted to work with me, and they were quite happy to embrace tech. And to embrace this thing at the time called Zoom that no one had heard of, even though I was in a telecoms company, so I'd heard of it. We were using it donkeys years ago. And I was trying to persuade people to use technology to break down the barriers of, distance, because I didn't need to be with them on their horse to help them out with things. But I think that was the biggest one that people couldn't get their heads around, is how could they feel more confident and overcome fear and anxiety when they're not on their horse. But that's how I then had to just keep telling people that it's about your brain, and your brain is with you everywhere. And if we can sort that bit out, then when you are on your horse, it's okay. And in fact, it's better not to be on your horse. So for us, really, it was COVID that really helped like power us off into success, because everyone just embraced this thing called Zoom. Like all of a sudden it became a household name, and people would say, should we jump on a Zoom? And everyone would say yes. Whereas before that, I'd be like, can we get on a Zoom? They'd be like, oh no, I can't do technology. I'd be like, no, it really is quite simple, honest. So, for me, actually, it really did launch like us to another level, because suddenly it became it just took the barriers down for technology. But I think for me, what it has enabled us to do is we work with people now all over the globe. And it's also meant that because we run online programs, we can help a lot more people now using technology than we ever did, when it was just little old me trucking up and down the country in my car. And also I have a team of coaches now as well. So the great thing is they're all over the world as well. And we're just about to train some new people. So if anyone's interested in that, give us a shout. But little plug there. But yeah, but it's great because it just breaks down the barriers. So technology is a wonderful thing, and I think there's loads of really cool stuff coming into equine sport, but for us it's quite simply just a case of we can do this, and I just think this just is incredible. Anyone, anywhere, anytime, and they can watch it back as well, which is really nice. So I say to people, don't worry if you can't join us live on things, like just watch it back, you'll still get the same benefit. And I do have people listen to the podcast or listen back to a video, or join in when they're mucking out, or they're poo picking, or they're doing something that they're driving, they're doing something they wouldn't normally be able to do. So I think for me that's definitely where it helps.
For most equestrians do their best thinking when we're mucking out and our poo picking along the way.
Yeah. My horse is on full livery now, so I don't really muck out anymore, and I miss my poo picking time. That was my that was my thinking time, that was my mindfulness.
I love it. Well, we'll be back to you now in a couple of minutes. I am going to head over to Sally-Ann. If you would like to introduce yourself, Sally-Ann, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So my name is Sally-Ann Grassick, as you said. I started out, I've come from a racing family. So growing up, my grandfather was a jockey and then a trainer, and all of his sons went into racing. None of his daughters, which has changed drastically in this generation, but all of his sons went into racing. My dad was a bloodstock agent, so grew up, around horses. Knew I always wanted to work in racing. Originally, I wanted to be a jockey. Then I got too tall, so I was an amateur jockey for quite a few years. And then I wanted to be a trainer. And I had a couple of bad falls and ended up just by fluke. I'd met John Frankham, who was working for Channel 4 at the time, and I ended up getting into media that way. He brought me along on a day's work experience at Cheltenham with Channel 4, and I never left. I pestered the life out of them. I used to go and work at the Cheltenham Festival as a runner for £50 a day with no expenses. So that'll tell you how keen I was on being a TV presenter. But I've been lucky enough. I spent 9 years in France, 7 of those working for Equitas, the French racing channel. And then I moved home. I keep saying recently, but when I worked it out the other day, it's actually 8 years ago. But in my head, it's still recently. I moved back to Ireland to help run the family farm, but met my husband. Well, I knew him already, but married my husband, and now run his farm with him, as well as presenting for ITV, which I absolutely love. That's my passion, as he calls it. That's when he's told everybody this week, I'm going on holidays. Cheltenham to him is my holiday, which I said actually technically it is at the moment. We're doing up a house and folding mares, so Cheltenham is a holiday for once this year. But so I ended up presenting, and then through that have become a member of the council of the Irish Thoroughbred Breeders Association. Set up Thoroughbred Tails in 2019 to try and promote positive messages about racing using the people who work behind the scenes. So we now have 18,000 followers on Twitter, over 8,000 followers on Instagram or on TikTok, and it's building all the time. So we have a different person from any role in the racing and breeding industry anywhere in the world who hosts every week, and they basically show what goes on behind the scenes. And then I also was one of the founding members of Stand Up for Racing last year, and we've been working to promote racing that way and to defend the misinformation that was spread about racing around the Grand National, which we had a conversation about that last year. It feels like a long time ago. And that time's coming around again, but we've been working on projects within racing. So a lot going on, a lot of different hats at the moment.
Do you sleep? And if so, when do you sleep? That is an unbelievable amount to kind of garner.
My husband's favorite question is, are you getting paid for this, or is this another free thing you're doing? Every single idea that I say to him, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this now. He's like, and is this also for free? I keep telling him someday somebody's going to pay me to do all these things. But in the meantime, I'm doing my dream job with ITV. I worked 10 years to get there. So if I can use the publicity that I get from ITV and the context that I have, if I can use that for the good of racing, I'm a firm believer that we're just custodians of the sport, that we hand it over to the next generation, and it's our job to hand it over in the best possible situation, the best possible state. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do, and I keep saying someday somebody will pay me to do all these things.
I love it. Well, with that in mind, I have your first question, please. So what initiatives or changes do you believe are crucial for fostering more inclusivity for female commentators in sports broadcasting?
It's come a really long way. I think I said to you when I did the written piece for you with the questions that when I first started in Channel 4, I was told no punter is going to want a young girl telling him how to spend his money. And it was all masculine. It was him is not going to want, he is not going to. And it was very much, you have to go off and prove yourself. You have to be an ex-jockey. You have to be a daughter of somebody, or, to be able to step into that role. And I came up against a lot of, kind of pushback at that stage. I had the great line was, you need more experience. And I'd say, well, how do you get more experience? And they said, well, you're not experienced enough, so you need to get more experience. And I was like, but if I'm not experienced enough, how do I get it? And I said, it's like the old tale, when a guy says to you, whoever marries you is going to be a really lucky guy as he breaks up with you. It was literally like that. I was like, so give me experience then. So I ended up going to France, and because I spoke quite good French, I spent 2 years improving my French, and then got into the French Racing Channel as an international racing presenter. So I was covering all the international racing around the world, but in French. So that definitely, I think when you come up against something like that, like a barrier, you have to find a way around it. You can't just keep hammering at the same door and saying, let me in, change your minds. Sometimes you have to change people's minds for them. So Ireland especially is a great one for loving people who go off and prove themselves somewhere else. We love an Irish person who goes and is successful abroad, and then suddenly RTE contacted me and said, can we have a meeting about you being a presenter? And I was like, where were you all these years ago, when I wanted to? But it definitely, I think you have to find your way around. And the things I say when I do a lot of media training and social media training with younger, especially the Irish National Stud students. I was at them yesterday, and the National Stud in England. And I always say to them, you need lots of strings to your bow. And COVID, as Jenni was saying, COVID proved that to me, that all my TV work ended overnight. Like literally, nothing. I came home from the Cheltenham Festival, and everybody just shut down, and I had to adapt, and I created my own media company. That was one thing I forgot to mention. I do get paid for that, but I created my own media company where I went out filming horses for people. So all the sales where people couldn't travel, I was doing the videos and the photos of them, and I do it for Darley and quite a few other farms, Juddmonte and things like that. I go and photograph and video their horses to go online, and that's been something that now, as Jenni was saying about Zoom, has become the norm. It's now unusual nearly for people not to film their horses, so that you can look back on one as if you're looking at it. So I definitely think it's being able to adapt. I don't know if I've answered your question in a long roundabout way, but it's being able to adapt, and whatever barriers you see, working out a way to kind of come up with a niche that only you can do, that then becomes the norm for other people.
I love it. There seems to be one concurring theme here, and it's niche and go with your gut and push. Seems to be the flow the whole way through. And with that in mind, I am going to bring on Helen. If Helen is there. And Helen might tell me how to pronounce your second name properly, in case I made a hash of it earlier on.
So it's Helen Diacono.
We may have checked this online and actually gone pronunciation and stuff.
Just in case. Helen, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody, please?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I am one of the co-founders of Cross Country App, which is a platform for riders and events around the world to publish interactive maps of cross-country courses. And I've been a horse crazy kid since I can remember. I've been doing the sport of eventing since I was about 12 years old. And growing up, me and my brother, we would make websites for our pony club or our local riding club. So we've always kind of matched horses and technology. And then around 10 years ago, I was walking a cross-country course with my mum, and we came up with the idea for cross-country app. So it was when mobile apps were just kind of becoming a thing. And we saw that people were taking photos of the cross-country jumps because they couldn't remember their course and they wanted to review it later. And they were also measuring cross-country courses with a measuring wheel, which we thought was really old school. And so, yeah, we came up with the idea of just combining it all into one mobile app. And it's really grown from there. It's been used by organizing teams at the Olympics, by riders at the Olympics. And yeah, it's been a great journey.
That's amazing. It must be very, very proud moment to know that something that you have conceived with your family and worked so hard on is now being used by everyone, that it is all inclusive.
Yeah, we feel really proud, and to see people kind of who use our tool and then go and do amazing things it's very cool.
I love it. I'm sorry, I'm just going to scroll up here now. In developing the cross-country app, is there a way that you can address the diverse needs and the different preferences to people?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I guess one of the things is that so I'm based in Australia, and we've been expanding it around the world. So one of the things is talking to people and visiting other countries and understanding how they do eventing. So when we've been to America and chatting to riders in America and course designers and event organizers, we find out that they do the sport quite differently. And they have different names for things, different names for levels. They use, instead of time faults, they have speed faults. And
Wow,
so
I didn't realize that there was such a difference between them.
yeah. And so it's just been kind of learning how, different cultures are doing things. And then also the kind of, I guess, other aspects of different countries. So Australia is a really vast country, and so is America, whereas England is and Ireland, they're a lot smaller geographically. So yeah, it's been interesting just learning about the different cultures and how the different countries do things.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I'll be back in a couple of minutes after we have a little chat to Jessica. So thank you so much for that. I will invite Jessica on, please. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
How are
good.
you?
I'm good. Not that you need any introduction really, but could you introduce yourself for tonight, please, Jessica?
Yeah, sorry, I was a little bit slow getting in with Zoom. It's not something I do every day, especially since I left the classroom. Yeah, so I'm Jessica Burke. I'm now an international show jumper. So I said I'm down here in Spain on the Sunshine Tour. So it's a bit rainy, but we're going okay.
I know I was going to say we're all a little bit jealous of the sunshine, but if it's raining out, I would. Hopefully it'll be better tomorrow.
Yeah. So yeah, no, so I suppose it's funny to be here now. I remember when I was teaching, so I taught in school for 6 years, and I used to anytime I'd get a free class or anything, I'd be watching videos of everyone doing show jumping full time, and I'd be a bit jealous, wondering, God, when am I ever gonna get down there? How am I gonna make this work? But I was like, no, I'm a teacher, you're a teacher, you're not a show jumper. So that was I was trying to work. I remember one day I actually I wrote down the list of horses I had at the moment, and I was thinking, God, are them any of those ones that any good will they be good enough to jump in Spain? And then I was thinking, okay, now the horses are good enough, how am I actually going to get there? But anyway, long story short, I went away and I did 1 or 2 foreign shows in the holidays, and then I just came back one day into school and I said, right, I'm taking a career break, and I'm gonna go and do this full time.
So as quick as that, the decision was, well, not as quick as that, but when you made the decision, was that it? You knew you were laser focused.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it was, you know, it was always something that was, you know, like, and exactly like everyone else has said, you know, just go with your gut, really. It was always something in the back of my mind, but I suppose I never really believed, you know, I was good enough to do it or to make it. And I think anything I ever wanted to do, I wanted to do it at the best level I could, you know. So, but yeah, when I went abroad that time, and I suppose I opened my eyes, saw a different side of life. So yeah, I made the decision to take a career break and move, and then again, being in the west of Ireland is not the easiest place to you know, start your show jumping career if you want to get to the top. So I moved to the UK, and luckily actually got a job in Arian Stud, where I fell in with a very interesting businesswoman, Louisa Church, and she we now have an all female team, and not by, you know, not designedly, it just happened that way. But you know, it's very helpful to have somebody in business outside of the equestrian industry to be able to bounce things off, you know. And as a woman, I think that's helped me a lot as well.
I love it. That leads very nicely into my question. What role do you believe visibility and representation play in encouraging more women to pursue careers in professional sports, and in particular show jumping?
I think, do you mean just by, you know, watching somebody doing it, or?
Just being able to see people like yourself and all the other amazing women that are involved in show jumping and all other aspects, to be able to see them. Do you think it encourages the younger girls to maybe stay on when they're thinking about getting into other sports or progress up through the show jumping ranks?
Yeah, I think definitely, actually. And it's funny, I wouldn't really view myself as, you know, somebody to look up to or anything, but it's amazing. And I find a lot in the younger generation, the kids, or when we're back in Dublin Horse Show and things like that. Like people, you know, kids now really look up to me. But then again, when I was growing up, like Jessica Curtin was my idol, you know, because she had the same name. I was like, God, do you think there'll ever be another good Jessica that can show jump? So I think it has a massive, I think it has a massive, it makes a massive difference, really, if you can just to get that bit of belief and confidence, you know. It's and you know, I think sometimes the lads maybe have confidence in general, that us women maybe sometimes overthink it, or, you know, maybe doubt ourselves at times. Whereas I think if you can look up and see a woman doing things exactly the same, because at least in our sport we can compete on the same level. You know, we don't, you know, it's not like camogie and hurling or whatever, we're doing the exact same competitions. It's not a strength thing, it's not any, you know. So I think, yeah, it probably is helpful.
Definitely. And you're doing a stellar job at doing it, if I can say so myself. You're representing very, very well.
Jessica, does that add more pressure to you? Like when you look at Katie Tailr in boxing, you look at Katie McCabe in football, you look at young people idolize these women. And I was up at the Show Jumping Pony Awards 6 weeks ago, and the amount of young girls that were talking about Jessica Burke was simply incredible. I was doing something on behalf of the Hey campaign. Was incredible. How does that make you feel? Does it add pressure? Does it change how you behave, how you act, or how you adjust yourself? How does that work?
I to be honest, I actually find that, like, funny, you know, strange almost to hear that, you know, because I'm just myself, and even my mom even finds it funny. Like, she's like, it's just my Jessica, you know. So I don't see myself any different at all. But, you know, if I can be of help to anybody or of any kids, you know, I feel a little bit it happened, you know, just overnight a bit. You know, my career took off, and I suppose the story from being a teacher and probably living the normal life, and now living this more crazy kind of, you know, different countries every week, like professional sport. And I suppose maybe the way I came up and did it probably makes everyone believe that you don't just have to go to college and have a normal job if you want to do something else, or if maybe there's something else that you're good at. So I suppose it's just to take the plunge. I think that's probably why it has given all the kids an idea. Maybe they'll all try and do something.
Love it.
So thank you very much, Jessica. That was really insightful. And I know even in this house, and we're more a racing house than a show jumping house, to be perfectly honest, you're a huge inspiration to everybody. So it's fantastic. I have one group question that I'm going to ask you all. So no cheating, ladies. You can't copy Jenni's answer. So I'm going to go back to Jenni first.
Smart.
Okay, I'm ready.
Just for how do you envision the future of women's participation and representation in equestrian sports? And what steps do you think can be taken to make that vision a reality?
So I think, you know, the top level of the support of the sport at the moment is a good mix in our sports compared to others. So I envision it being that same sort of mix. I mean, it would be lovely if there were more women than men. But I think we're a pretty good mix, really, to be honest. And I see a lot of talent coming through is, you know, incredible young women coming through the ranks. So I think, you know, it's got a good future. I mean, without going down the SLO route and the social license route, let's see what the sport in the future holds for the sport in general. But I think, what was the second part of the question?
Sorry, I had
A good answer lined up and then I forgot what I was talking about. There we go.
How do you envision the future of women's participation? What steps do you think can be taken to make the vision a reality?
Okay, yeah. So I think, you know, with anything around women, I think being mindful of the fact that it is different for us. So interestingly enough, I've got a baby now. She's 14 months old. She wasn't really she definitely wasn't part of the plan because I found out I was pregnant the day that my potential international horse arrived from Portugal and I was on the squads for working equitation. So it was not planned at all and has definitely thrown that goal hasn't gone. It's just on a different timeline now. But it was really interesting because the same time I got pregnant, it seemed, and I think there must have just been something in the water, like lots of women in horse riding, also lots of top women, and also, you know, Charlotte was pregnant at the same time, Charlotte Desjardins, and, you know, lots of women all of a sudden. I was like, oh, everyone's pregnant. I don't know quite what was going on that month. But, you know, but I do think that you need a lot of support. And I think this is a women's thing. You know, I love the fact that I run my business and I look after my baby. And I love the fact that I can do that. And the freedom and the flexibility it gives me is incredible. But it also means that, you know, horses are something I have to try and factor in and get support in order to do that. And I think that's where we just all need to support each other as women, because it's not just the baby thing, but, you know, like it was mentioned earlier, you know, oh, you're of that age, you're going to have a child now. That actually, you know, it is something that we as women have to accept, understand, work around, you know, do something with. And I think the thing that's going to get women further in sport is an understanding and the amount of support that we have to pull together and give each other, even if we don't have babies. But that is, you know, it's a huge part of it, and it's still a decision that we make whether we do or we don't, and what we do if we have them, you know. And yes, okay, you can hop back on. I was back on very quickly, but actually, you know, that has really made a difference to my dreams and goals as to the time frame of them and what I was planning on doing and where I'm at now. Because I don't have family nearby, that I don't have free childcare, you know, and I think that makes a big difference. So yeah, I think it's just understanding what it is that means that we as women might need that's different to that of our male counterparts. I think that's and I think it's the same in any workplace, to be honest, that we just need to be mindful of that.
I love it. I love that entire idea of the community and how we can all help each other, because at the end of the day, we all have the same thoughts and we all have the same fears. So it's very nice to be able to continue it and help through it. Thank you so much, Jenni, for that. I really appreciate it. So we will move back to Sally Ann now, please. Oh, has Sally Ann gone?
No, I'm here.
No, oh, there you are. I thought you disappeared from the top of my screen. Will I read out the question again?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. How do you envision the future of women's participation and representation in equestrian sports? And what steps do you think to make this vision a reality?
I think Jessica made some really good points about, you know, we're one of the few sports where men and women compete on equal footing, and that be that in dressage, eventing, you know, in show jumping and in racing as well. So I think that's a huge thing, that, you know, we can compete on the same level, and it gives girls that visibility of having, you know, women compete at that top level, and having people in racing, people like Rachel Blackmore and Holly Doyle, who are, you know, amazing role models, and there's more and more of them coming all the time. It took a long time for us to get a female national hunt jockey. You know, we had Katie Walsh and Nina Carberry, but they were always amateur. It's taken a long time for us to get to this stage, and it's still hard for the ones coming along behind. But, you know, after Rachel won the Grand National, I had friends sending me videos of their kids galloping around the arena screaming, "I'm Rachel Blackmore," you know, and Rachel gets mobbed when she goes to pony clubs and things like that. So she's a huge role model. So having that is a massive plus. I also think our mindset is changing a lot. Whereas before, you know, and when you were talking earlier with Shana, I thought it was interesting, because before, women who were confident were seen as obnoxious, and women who were, you know, forward thinking and knew what they want were seen as bossy. And we never would have called men the same names for behaving in the same way. We would have said, you know, they were confident, we were being obnoxious, or we were being, you know. So I think that's definitely changed. People are more wary of how they talk. People are more wary of giving, you know, giving a leg up and giving help to females in the sport. But I still think it's a massive point that, you know, the majority of our workforce in racing and in equestrian sports behind the scenes are women. So how many of them, you know, didn't think their dream was worth following, that could have done it. So I think there's still a lot more that we can do.
I love it. And we will get there one step at a time. We will definitely get there. I like it. Thank you very much, Sally-Ann. I will head to Helen now, please.
Well, I might answer this question from more of the sports technology side.
Yes, definitely.
I'd love to see more women in sports technology. And like, particularly because in eventing, there's so many women in the sport, it makes a lot of sense to have women creating the products that women are using. And I think that community is a really big part of that, and visibility as well, particularly when you're working on products that people from like all around the world are using. It can be hard to connect and connect with other businesses that are also doing the same thing, perhaps like women in online equestrian retail businesses as well, because you're quite geographically diverse. You're not just in the same small town and can just see each other. And we actually had in Australia recently, for the first time ever, an equine business summit, which was amazing. We had online, you know, brand managers and founders of online retail businesses and other equestrian apps all come into the same one room, and it was really great to just meet the community. And because you know, Australia is such a big place, it's often hard to meet people in the same industry. So having more kind of community events like that, whether they're in person or online, I think Facebook groups are also really great for that. I'm part of a lot of women in like business Facebook groups. So if we could have more Facebook groups specifically for women in like equestrian businesses, that would be great, I think, so you can kind of connect with people around the world. Yeah, just having that community would be great.
Oh, sorry, that was something that's my thing. I'm messaging somebody a link to the thing and it went into, anyway, doesn't matter, my apologies.
I thought you were coming out with something very insightful.
Oh, just my start to the live stream, the video came up and trying to respond to a message. I'm like, it's going to start, isn't it? Anyway, other than me going bald here and us having some fun with my hair gone missing, let's continue on. We're all good.
And Helen, is that something that's going to be an annual event, or something that they're going to grow from it? That's fantastic.
Yeah, they're going to have it next year. It was a really big success this year. We had a lot of great speakers and a really good turnout. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm very glad to hear that they're going to continue with it. That's fantastic. Cracking answer. Love that answer. So we will move on to Jessica now, please.
Do you mind just repeating the question once more so it's fresh in my head again? Because I've had so many different takes on it now.
Well, none of you have cheated so far, so you're all doing very, very well, to be fair. How do you envision the future of women's participation and representation in equine sports, and what steps can be taken to make this vision a reality?
Oh yeah. yeah, what I was thinking, the steps some things we've done, is I've taken a lot of kind of students or kids, even just kids that would have come up to me, in the Dublin Horse Show and different things for a week at a time, or kids during TY, and they've come over to base with us in the UK, just be for a week, be for a few days, whatever, and just so they can kind of learn, see what we do, learn the system. And I just think I think TY is a great time, gives people a chance to have an idea of what they want to do, or if it's not for them or for them, that's just one kind of support we try and do to give people, and people growing up. But I think we're getting much stronger. Like, when you see the Irish Showjumper, and there's been more women on teams. Okay, it's not as much as the men or as much as you'd like, but I think in the next couple of years, I think owners and sponsors are now starting to, support women more as well, and be more behind women. And I think I do feel that we are viewed, quite equally now, and I don't see any reason not to be, So hopefully in the next few years we'll see more 50-50 in the very top level.
I love it. That is absolutely brilliant. Talk about 4 amazing answers and 4 different perspectives. That was absolutely fantastic, ladies. I can't thank you all enough for coming on and giving up your time tonight and answering all of our questions and chatting through it all with us. It's been absolutely amazing. And there is a couple of questions coming in, so we might forward them on to you kind of over the next day or two, and we'll get back to the people that have been answering. And thank you so much. We really, really appreciate it all. Thanks a million. So I think I am handing over to Shane next.
I'm
Yeah.
just changing the roles here so I can get the next person on. Folks, the next person we are going to have on is someone who I've been relatively close with since the start of our journey in Grassick's Gazette. She became part of our advisory group, that thing I talked about at the start, an advisory group, if you will. She's an amazing person. She's a para, I always call it in start, and she'll be involved in a lot of stuff we do. Her name is Heather Lemmon Kiley. You may better know her as Afraid of Connemara. Later on this year, and I'll set the scene, we're going to do something really cool that Equitas will play a huge role in, which is launching the world's first ever Equestrian Disability Awareness Month. I promised at the origins of Equitas 2 people that we would do something meaningful for para-equestrians, because there is no media brand in the world. And 2 of those people are our guests tonight, aligning to the theme of this year's International Women's Day, Inspire Inclusion. So without further ado, what we wanted to do, by the way, was we wanted to bring on Heather and Angela to talk about their story. It's an Olympic year, it's a Paralympic year. They have big aspirations. They are out looking for sponsorship at the moment. The 2 of them are joining us from either Ireland or the UK. They're in the UK this week, and I'm not sure if they're there now or they're there tomorrow. But without further ado, I will bring on the wonderful person, the wonderful lady that is the para-equestrian, Heather Lemmon Kiley. An amazing story, an amazing person. She's involved with Para-Equestrian Ireland now and does a lot of their socials. Wait until Tailr will be joining the webinar as a panelist. She's coming in now. Wait until you hear her story, and then we'll have a couple of questions after it. I'm really looking forward to hearing this. And Angela will be joining us in a while as well. So super excited. I hope you're enjoying it, by the way, so far. If you have any questions, please let us know or put them in. I'm just trying to get Heather on here. Sarah, how are you enjoying your first Equitas online event?
It's amazing. I have just gotten a coffee delivered to me. If you can see it, I don't think you can. I'm settling in nicely.
I'm sure that's coffee. I'm very sure it is.
Nice.
Heather, are you joining us from Ireland or the UK? See, she able to talk now. Sorry, folks, just 1 sec. Yeah, she should be able to. Heather this seems to be happening. It was the same a minute ago. Heather has declined to join as a panelist. Sorry, Jessica, this is what happened to you as well. It's just technical issues. Hold on, I have to go back here and put her in. Sarah, how are you feeling about hosting for the first time?
I think Murray did a cracking job there. She is a tough act to follow, with Mealy coming in later on.
I've stopped shaking so much now.
Heather talking. Heather, can you hear us? It says talking permitted. It says we should be good to go. She's up here beside us, but I have no idea. We'll give it a second, I suppose. Folks, I'm really excited about what's coming up next. I have a newfound friend in the equine industry. She's from the UK and she is an incredible eventer. Heather is gone, so I'll have to put her back in. She's an incredible eventer. Trying to get her onto this was relatively easy, I have to say, Lucinda. I know you're looking and smiling, and Ellie's probably beside you. But I'm super excited to hear Lucinda Fredericks talk later. What she's done and the story she told us being part of the Grassroots Rider Academy and all the work that Equitas did involved in that as well was pretty surreal. And the other panels as well coming up later, speaking in the empowerment one. And I can't wait to hear the ladies as well and the women in work in tech. It's going to be super exciting. Heather, can you text me if we're having an issue, if you don't mind? Because I don't know. Heather seems to be gone from the chat. Do you want to go on to the next panel? Because if she's after dropping out, we'll be waiting another 5 minutes, and I don't want to paper over for 5 minutes talking. I'm good at talking, but nobody wants to listen to me for the next 10 minutes.
That's disappointing, Shane. But no, we will. We'll crack on.
I think that works better.
Yeah, so the next panel that we have coming up is, it's probably one of the yeah, sorry, go on.
30 seconds. Heather, can you hear us? Technical issues on your first event, you gotta love it. I will highlight that I was explaining to the guards earlier.
Okay.
My first, can you hear us? There you are.
Yes, I can. Sorry.
2013, and you know the chimes that go off when the Angelus is ringing on the TV.
Yes.
For some reason, I'm down in the University of Limerick. There's 350 people in an auditorium. It's the first event I have ran. I'm up there speaking at the top, and the chimes start. And for about 3.5 minutes, there's 350 odd people just looking at me while I'm going. Hope someone's fixing this. So the technical issues tonight aren't too bad. We're not listening to chimes for the Angelus for the people.
I'm in the middle of the country at the moment, so yeah.
Are you in Ireland? Are you in the UK?
No, we're leaving at 5 a.m. tomorrow. So yeah, early start.
I love it. Well, Heather, I've just set the scene for you about what an amazing person you are, some of your journey. But we will hand it over to you. We will hand it over to you.
Hello everyone. My name is Heather Lemmon. I am a grade 2 international para dressage rider. This is my second year going international, and we are campaigning for the Paralympics for Paris. My horse's name is Freya. I run an Instagram account called Freya the Connemara. I started it when I first started breaking her, just to show everyone the ups and downs. And yeah, we have really done it all together. Freya has been a huge part of helping me through my illness. I became ill in 2020 and diagnosed with relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis. So I'm visually impaired and physically impaired. And then this September, I was re-diagnosed. I spent a month in hospital and got re-diagnosed with secondary progressive MS. But that hasn't really, it slowed us down. It has slowed us down, but it hasn't stopped us. I still ride every day that I can. Still try to do it all, much to my detriment sometimes. And yeah, Freya's been a massive part of helping me retain a sense of normality, I suppose, because I mean, I've been riding for over 30 years, been a stage 4 coach, have done pre-training race horses, senior instructor in Hyde Park, used to ride up and down Rotten Row. I've kind of done a bit of everything. So yeah, Freya's kind of been instrumental in kind of keeping me focused and keep me going. And we kind of fell into the world of para dressage. And Freya's taken to it like a duck to water. So she loves it, and we're training very hard, and we're very hopeful that we'll get to Paris. And yeah, we're competing this weekend. Well, not this weekend, we're competing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday over in Addington, the UK. So it's our first UK competition, so we're really excited. And yeah, that's us. We
you've 10 people. There's 10 people potential on the squad, and is it there 4 being picked?
Yes, yeah.
How are you feeling your chances there? That's it has to be the first question. Sorry to everybody else, but
really, I think it's about pacing for me for this year. I'm quietly hopeful, and if our training translates as well as has been, I'm pretty hopeful. It's more about now pacing me and me not kind of overdoing it and staying focused and staying confident. So I'm really, really hopeful. I think
dressage like 3 years, aren't you?
Sorry?
You're only doing para dressage 3 years.
Yeah, this is my second international year. Yeah.
Second international year, and you have aspirations to go to the Paralympics, and a very strong chance at that to go to the Paralympics.
Yeah, well, we don't do anything by halves. So hard to go home.
I'm literally, as I'm talking to Heather, as we're talking here at the event, there's only one article on the wall behind me. I showed it the other day on a live stream, and it's Heather's article in Equitas. I think it was edition 1 or 2, perfectly imperfect. I love the story behind it. Can you tell me what kind of challenges do you face on this pathway towards the Paralympics? I know sponsorship and funding is a big part of that as well. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so obviously funding is always welcome and always needed. Horse riding is very expensive, and when you're a para rider, especially when you're towards the lower grades, grade 1, 2, and 3, it becomes more difficult. You need more people. Like, I need people to put me up on the horse. I need people to help me down. Like, it's a lot of manpower, and I obviously can't do a lot of things myself anymore, though I do try, much to my mum's anxiety levels. But yeah, it's been a massive community effort my last year and this year as well. And the other things I face, really, it's me. I'm the only other obstacle. It's my health and keeping, I think, because I haven't been disabled that long. I mean, I was only diagnosed in 2020, and it's on a downward trend, progressive illness, so it gradually gets worse. So it's a case of working smarter, not harder, or quicker, or doing all of it, and sharing the work and having people to share it with me. And yeah, I think that would be the toughest one, and keeping a positive mental attitude, because
I'm gonna ask that. I have one more question and we leave you go then.
Yeah.
You're big into community. You've built a really good community around your page, your profile for Freya Connemara. You've also do a lot of the social stuff for Para Ireland. I don't know, on live streams or on other things we've done at Equitas from day dot, from July 1st, 2022. Has anybody been more engaged on our live streams and other stuff than you? Why do you feel that's needed? Why do you believe community is important? And why indirectly, why was Equitas aligned to that in your thought process?
Well, I mean, I think social media is a funny thing because it does bring people close together, but it can be hard to keep a community, to build a community if it's not exciting enough. But I mean, I think Equitas for me is something that's real. It's not something that's just for one day. It's consistent and has always been consistent, and you can always reach out. And that very much is how I think the world should work. And I would hope my community works. I mean, I'm always solicit, you know, my DMs have always been open for any of my followers, and I've had a good community, my Insta fam, who we talk regularly. I think it's just a sense of togetherness that maybe some people might not be able to get, and especially with women supporting women. And it's not a sort of it's a real, Equitas is a real women supporting women movement. You know, it's not just writing it on paper or saying it or wearing the t-shirt. It's deeper and more real. You guys actually do something. So yeah.
I like that. Well, Heather, thank you for coming on. We really wanted to have you on when it came to Inspiring Inclusion. I love your journey, I love your story. And I hope forevermore we all stay perfectly imperfect, like your article said.
Absolutely.
I hope you do, and I hope we all do as well. Thank you for coming on. I really, really, really hope you get to Paralympics 24. I do believe it's on in and around your birthday, is it?
Yeah, I know.
I hear the rumor the first week.
It's going to be good.
If I remember correctly. Heather, thank you so much for joining us. You have been a star as always. Yeah, thank you, and best of luck in the journey to the Paralympics. Bye. Folks, Heather, Lemmon, Kylie. And if you haven't seen her Instagram profile, head on over and check out @Freda Connemara. She has been with us since day dot, and Equitas has an incredible journey, an incredible story, and I absolutely love the aspirationalist thought process of I can be a Paralympian within 3 years of getting into this. I know it's been a tough journey for her, absolutely, but I just love her mind frame towards things. The community focus, she's the epitome of Equitas in so many ways. Sarah, I think it's over to you now, isn't it?
It is. And I mean, Heather's story and her mental strength absolutely just gives me goosebumps every time she talks about it. It's when you put it into the bigger picture, it's hard to believe, but it's just so inspiring. So Heather, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I am coming back to you guys again. We are doing a short set on Equitas, on us, why we're here, what we're doing. When we thought about what it was that we wanted to bring to the table tonight, we did think that it should be a little bit about us, the founders, and we're doing what we're doing. So the evening started with Shane, and you've heard a little bit about him and how he rang me, and the 2 questions around Equitas that he put to me were, do we need this? And I suppose I obviously answered.
Sorry, can you repeat the second question? You cut out there for a sec.
The first question was, do we need this? And the second question was, and are you in? So
I forgot to say.
Sorry,
by the way. Couple of years apologies.
What some of you may or may not know about me is that I have 2 little girls. Paige and Bree is 6 months old. So when that call came in, Paige was actually only about 8 weeks old. So here is my why on yes on both counts, Shane. Yes, we need Equitas, and yes, I am in. I absolutely love the lifestyle that equestrianism can offer to young girls. It teaches them, as it did me, the hard work, trust, friendships, and even relationships in general. I don't think it does so like any other, but I am adamant that I want my girls to grow up in an environment where they understand the difference between equality and equity. And that is what Equitas stands for, literally. Only by understanding what equity and proportional fairness truly looks like can we actually open ourselves up to seeing the needs of others and be there to help them. Only then can we actually say that we are fully inclusive. My girls are still so small that I'm not even sure yet it may be within the industry or wider, but there are mothers in this industry, and I'm sure there are even mothers on this call who are fighting protectively for their children to feel connected, listened to, and ultimately feel seen. And we at Equitas want to help them. So this opportunity that we have within Equitas is for us, for you, and for them. We are women, we are mothers, and we are actually the media. And that with that means that we pave to a more inclusive industry and perhaps a more inclusive society as a whole. That sums up why I am sitting here in front of you all, shaking with nerves, but doing it anyway, and braving, like so many of you are doing within sports, within tech, within your fields, putting yourselves out there and braving, being brave and courageous and putting yourselves forward, and as Shana said earlier on, following your gut. So, Murren, I'm handing the...
Thanks, Sarah. Follow that one. It is a question that we get asked an awful lot, is why? Why is Equitas needed? Why did we want to be part of Equitas? And it's a question I love answering. And I think that it's a very important question. And I think that with the number of women that are within our industry currently, it's something that has to be spoken about, and it's something that we have to talk about. So my reason why, and my forever reason why, will be to create generational change within all aspects of our community. I grew up riding horses. I was very, very lucky. I was in a very privileged position that I could go and ride horses. My family were not horsey whatsoever. None of them are into horses, but I was given the opportunity to go and do it. With that, and within the areas that I worked in, it was quite misogynistic. And there was a lot of times where I felt that I shouldn't or couldn't be part of an industry. And I never, ever want anybody to be able to feel that way again, ever. And as part of Equitas, we can change that. As Sarah said, we are the media. This is what we are. This is what we want to do. So through our campaigns, through our press releases, through our articles, our live streams, our podcasts, and many, many things that we are involved with, we are creating generational change, and we are creating consistent change. As Heather said, we are not just here to talk about it. We are actually becoming this. We are changing the industry. And yes, it's slowly, but we are doing it. I would love that people know and realize that we are championing ye. We are here for ye. This is us. Come to us, talk to us, let us know. And I would also love to think that my son will grow up knowing the power of equity. So that is why I am here.
I love this. They're both fantastic answers. And Sarah Ellibert, if you think you're getting away without answering Carly's question publicly, you haven't got hope in hell. Do you think I didn't see that? So,
but I think it is public in the group, or it is public in the Q&A.
No, I can see it.
I didn't reply privately.
I'm the host of the team, you're the host of the event. So, what Carly asked, thank you, Carly, for your wonderful question. Question for Sarah and Murren. How does it feel hosting a first ever Equitas online event on such a monumental day? You guys are smashing it on always, and the speakers so far have been just incredible. Carly, by the way, just to highlight, has texted me about Shana and at least two of the other speakers, and she's literally texting me now while sending me pictures of her having pizza with her screen on. So I'll go back to the question, how does it feel hosting your first ever Equitas online event on such a monumental day? Sarah, I'll start with you.
What I said to Carly was, we are super nervous, but we're doing it anyway. So if that's the definition of bravery or courage, then here we are. But no, on this day, International Women's Day, it feels like a lot of pressure, if I'm honest. It feels like we had to show up and do something. But very, very proud to take that on board. And if this is what it means and this is what the industry needs, then that's what we will do.
Love it. More?
Shame. It's not there. I think we talk an awful lot about imposter syndrome and confidence in ourselves. And I can't speak for Sarah. I wouldn't speak for Sarah, but I was very, very, very nervous about today. I had to go ride my horse, give myself a little bit of breathing space and a bit of time. But I love what we're representing here. I love the speakers we have coming on. I love the ladies that are coming on next. I just think what has been created and what we are doing here is so powerful that if we can't show up to do it, then it's all a joke. We just have to be here. And as Sarah says, sure, we feel the fear and do it anyway.
Well, if you need to know Carly's answer to that, I feel so inspired on a whole new level from this event. Carly, thank you very much. So I'll hand it back over to you before I read all this and ask more questions. Thank you, that was awesome. I think Simon Sinek has a famous saying, it starts with why. People don't care what, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I think the epitome of everything we've tried to do in Equitas, it starts with why. So I think me starting off tonight like that, you coming in like this, people get to know why we're doing what we're doing. Over to you.
We are up next with the empowerment panel. So the people who we have on now, we have Poppy Blandford, Shane McCarthy, and Emma Jane Clarke. These are people who are having a huge impact in their respective areas. I mean, phenomenal. They are making waves, shall we say. So, Shane, are you organising there to have them, and yourself obviously, come on screen? We have
as panelists. There you go, partner.
Perfect.
Hello, welcome.
Welcome,
Hi guys.
everybody.
I'm a panelist now, so
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Really, really appreciate it.
No problem.
Let me just see, trying to get you all on my screen here. So it doesn't look like I'm having a conversation with myself. Now, so we are joined. Poppy, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
Poppy is a high performance mental coach, and I'd like to just give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about what it is that you do.
Yeah, so thanks a million for having me. My name is Poppy, like you said, and I work as a high performance mental coach in the equine industry, predominantly with Showjumpers, but I do work in all the different disciplines. And my job is really to help riders get out of their own way from a mental perspective and be able to unlock their potential in what they're doing. So I actually started out life as an occupational therapist. I specialised in child and adolescent mental health. But I found the HSE didn't really suit my personality. I was also heavily involved with horses, and I spent all my university summer holidays traveling abroad, working with different riders internationally. And I was living this kind of strange world of very heavy kind of mental health difficulties and working in that field versus being on an international show circuit. And it was kind of a strange place to be in. So I actually decided to take an early retirement from the HSE, and very early, and tried to go into the horses full time. And I was a bit lost. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. There was a real feeling of, you've done all this education work, are you just going to throw it away? And I spent actually a lot of time in America working on that show circuit, and I actually became a kind of natural sounding board for riders because I was therapy trained. So a lot of them that I became friends with were coming to me with their problems, and I just started talking to them more and more and more in a very casual way. And I just had this urge within me that I felt that there had to be some kind of an opening for me there to combine my love of psychology and also the horses. So I went and did a 2-year master's in performance psychology, and sort of changed my tack from working with people that were ill or unwell and trying to bring them from normal, and now I work with people that we call normal functioning to performance. So I don't work in therapy anymore. It's all about the performance field, and I work with a lot of top riders all around the world. I work in a lot of the big European stables now. I go over and work with their teams of riders. I work with different international federations, lots of the youth academies I work with, and really it's partnering with riders as much as possible on a long-term basis to be able to prep them towards a big occasion. So I'm working with 3 different riders towards Paris this summer, and yeah, I spend my life working with riders. I still ride myself. We have a busy stable at home, so kind of all in the sport, and a good balance of both these days.
That's amazing. It seems all kind of come, as you said, you took 2 different passions belonging to you and amalgam into one and then have
Yes.
taken it to the next level.
It took a little bit of it sounds very like a smooth journey, but of course there was definitely a period of turmoil and a lot of self-questioning and a lot of people telling me I was completely bonkers, but I suppose 8 years later now we're in a great place.
And probably a lot of the work that you're applying with other people to yourself throughout the journey, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Are there strategies that you find most effective in supporting people to cultivate their mental strength and resilience? And how can initiatives like Equitas help with that? So are there any strategies that you can advise or that apply to people? And then how can we help you do that better on a wider level?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I suppose the whole focus of my business is helping people to learn how to coach themselves. I really don't want people to become dependent on me. Lots of people say, can I call you before I do X, Y, and Z? And I actually don't want them to. I want them to be able to have the resources and the tools within themselves that they can deal with those situations themselves. And really what I provide for people is a space where they can reflect on situations that have happened, and be able to learn from them, take that knowledge forward and become more knowledgeable about themselves, because the more knowledge you have about yourself, the more successful you'll be, in my opinion. So, I have lots of riders that are maybe on the 5-star circuit and they call me every week for an hour, and it's their one space in the week where they have an hour to think about themselves, really reflect on what's happened, and use those situations to be able to move forward. Like I've a story of one girl, and she was got onto one of the Global Champions Tours teams, and one of the Whitakers said something to her in the warm-up, and she changed her whole warm-up situation completely, and it ended quite badly. She did something she never normally would do, and the horse got a little bit of a fright, and she went in and had a bad round. And being able to sit down, reflect on that experience and learn about herself was the most important part of that, and understand why she behaved like that, why she listened, what she was feeling in that moment, and how, if that situation was to arise again, what she could do about it. So for me, it's really about people sharing stories about learning experiences that they've been through themselves that we can all identify with. When I'm working with people, I often tell, obviously with client confidentiality, I often tell other people's stories to them, and people really, really associate with stories. They can see themselves within it. So, for people like you, I think it's so important to open the space, not just for the success stories, but also for the moments of challenge, the moments, when people have had to overcome certain situations. That's a huge part of my work. And that's what I would probably advise from. There's a million strategies you can use, but one that everyone could tap into is probably just listening to other people's reflection.
Well, we will happily take on that challenge of sharing more stories and
Great.
spreading that as far and wide as we possibly can, especially if it has the positive impact that you have been proven to show. Your background, you mentioned the adolescent mental health background that you had.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that gives you a slightly unique edge in working with the next generation within the sport?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love working with young people. I actually don't work with under 16s anymore because I think it's a different skill set altogether. So I work with 16 plus now, but I definitely, being a young person is a very experience and very unique to each individual. And I suppose I have a greater understanding than the average person would in terms of the challenges that presents to a young person. But the other thing that I would also say is that I have a great understanding of the sport, and that's really where I earn the respect from young people, is when you can talk the talk about a sport that they're passionate about. Sometimes people sometimes I work with young people and they may not want to open up to me. And then I say, well, did you watch Aachen on the weekend? And they say, oh yeah, I did, and then we start to talk about a certain round or a certain little piece of that. And all of a sudden they warm up, So I think my background helps. I don't do therapy anymore, but I have an understanding of young people, what makes them tick. And I also have a love and a passion for the sport. And I think when you share a passion with people, it will connect you anyway.
I think what you said there about having the earning the respect is hugely important to developing the trust and then being able to be successful together as a partnership. I absolutely love that, Poppy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Not at all.
Move on to Shane next, and then Poppy, we will come back and ask another group question at the end.
Perfect. Yeah.
Just to say to anyone, if anyone has any questions, do pop them into the Q&A section here. Murren and Shane, well, Murren's actually monitoring them at the moment, so they will come forward should they arise. Shane.
Partner.
Where for those of you who don't know, which everyone does at this stage, Shane is the CEO of Equitas, co-founder and CEO of Equitas and the Grassroots Gazette. He loves to talk, so I'm not going to hold the mic too much longer. I'm going to hand it across to him for a brief introduction, Shane, if you don't mind.
How brief is brief? Like 1 minute, 10 minutes?
I'm going to give you 2. I'm going to give you generous and give you 2.
No, I'll be sharper than that. Folks, my name is Shane McCarthy. I am born and bred in Limerick. I am not an equestrian. I fell into the industry 2 years ago by total accident, if I'm being honest. With my former business partner, Mike, we set up the Grassick Gazette. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of Equitas. I'm the CEO and owner of the Grassick Gazette. I am involved as one of the co-founders of the Hey campaign, the Hey How Are You Equestrian Mental Health campaign, and lead producer of the Grassroots Rider Academy series, and lots of cool stuff. We're about to launch a racing brand soon in the not so distant future, and the next generation brand after that. My goal, as I see it, I see the equine industry being a hugely undigitized market. I'm not in the industry for the horses. I'm in the industry for the people. I'm in the industry because I see, as Poppy would touch on, people getting in their way. I see that with a lot of equestrians. I see a huge amount of talent there. And in the both brands that I have the privilege of leading, there's one word that's the same in the tagline: change. Be the change is the Grassick Gazette. Equitas is empowering change together. I believe myself to be a change maker, someone who tries to do things and is willing to take a chance and willing to look foolish if I have to try and do it, and to move the industry forward and to move my life and the people around me life forward. That's it. I'm a marketing and media specialist. I'm an advertising specialist. I spent 10 years building brands, involved in the startup scene, mad about tech and artificial intelligence, not your AI, my AI, it's a different AI altogether. That's really it. Yeah, that's my intro.
Excellent stuff. So your first question, Shane, is as a leader in equine media brand for women, but also the Grassroots Gazette, how do you ensure that the stories of women equestrians are effectively amplified and celebrated, and thus contributing to the greater inclusivity within our community?
I think it is about being attentive. I think it's about listening and hearing. I do like to talk a lot, admittedly. But also you have to hear the voices of women that we listen to, and you have to hear the stories, and you have to hear the consistency of messaging coming from people. That call I got at 1:30 on the Sunday night from Tracy Keogh, was I going to listen? Was I not? Was it going to be an egotistical thing of no? Of course, two guys can lead women, and believe that we understand, or was I going to do what we done, which is the following morning get up earlier than I ever would and ring Mike and go, we're going to give away half of our company. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. I think to inspire inclusivity, you have to listen, you have to be attentive, you have to want to be part of the change, and you have to be willing to take chances. I don't believe in standing in front of people. I believe in standing beside them or behind them. It's it's what we've done here at Equitas, and it's what we will always do. Stand behind them in case they fall, and stand beside them so you can walk the path together. And I believe that's what Equitas will do forevermore, for women all across the world, not just in the equine industry, but further afield. And through the Grassroots Gazette, the same. I'm not someone who has difficulties at times dealing with mental health, I would be positive and happy most of the time. Not all of the time, admittedly. It's a stressful thing, but I think it becomes part of your job. But the minute Shane Rooney rang me about the Hay campaign and he was upset, we turned it into the biggest equestrian mental health campaign the country had ever seen. I don't have to understand it, I just have to stand behind it. And I believe that's what leadership is. Actions, not words.
That's brilliant. And I mean, I remember you saying going way back that 80% of the writers that for the Grassroots Gazette were female. And so you were listening to the issues that they were having, and
yeah, and look, it was easy to pull the group together, that advisory group, if you will. I rang you, literally, I forgot those 2 questions, but yeah, look, I think 72% of the equine industry is female. I cannot fathom, away from my sister ringing me, I cannot fathom why nobody had set up a media brand exclusively for women. I cannot fathom why people like the wonderful people on this panel and the other women that are available tonight, they should, no disrespect, there's not a hope in hell any of you should be available to be on this event tonight if we haven't contacted you before Christmas. It means that not enough has been done. It means that stuff that is been done is tokenism in my mind. And this is the start of us doing it in Equitas, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. None of you, for the quality of people we have on, should be available tonight. We've only contacted you in the last 3 to 4 weeks. You should have all been booked up way before Christmas if the equine industry is serious about empowering women and supporting women. Why? Because there should be a multitude of events on tonight, online and offline. But we will fix that. Equitas will empower change together, and we will be advocates for that.
I love that. With your focus on technology to build communities and launch campaigns, which we know you're passionate about, what do you envisage the net effect of being globally within the equine industry?
I don't think it's that, Sarah, if I'm being honest. I think we have tech been built in the background, artificial intelligence tech for publishing. And somebody gave out to me a few weeks ago about we're delayed launching this tech. And I had to explain to the person, do you realize when we build this tech that we will be able to give every women's rights movement, every activism group, every women dealing with domestic abuse community groups, women dealing with perimenopause, all of these different issues that women could be facing or dealing with, we can give them technology that they create their own communities, their own groups, their own articles, their own activism. I don't want to help one person, I want to help all the people. And we have the ability to do that. And if you can influence it in the right way, the tech that we will build over the next 12 to 24 months in Equitas will create generational change for women's movements all over the world. And I have no doubt even a small bit in that. And I think that's part of empowering change together. The vision we have to be fearless in our pursuit of it. We have to be relentless, compassionate and understanding, of course. But if, you know, I love Steve Jobs' famous saying, people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. And I think we're crazy enough, in some respect, together as a collective, to think we can change the world for women, not just in the equine industry. And I think that's what we'll do.
And we are all for changing the world. I think everyone can probably see here that having Shane in your corner is empowering, to say the least. There are definitely times, and you would have heard myself and Miriam talking about imposter syndrome and being nervous here, and he is our biggest cheerleader in this. So to have in your corner advocating for women and being on the empowerment panel at the first Equitas online event on International Women's Day. I am going to move on now to Emma Jane Clarke. Emma Jane Clarke is an executive coach at Martinstown Lodge. So Emma Jane, would you like to talk to us a little bit about who you are and what do you do?
Great, thanks a million for having me on tonight. And I do everything that Poppy does, but for a different cohort, so and through a different mechanism. So at Martinstown Lodge, we run a leadership and team development on our farm, and we do that working with horses on the ground. So it's quite unique in a coaching sense. It's quite well established in Ireland in a therapy sense, but I work with businesses, individuals, large corporates to help develop their leaders and emerging leaders to fulfill their potential and therefore fulfill what work they need to do on a strategic level. Background-wise, very varied. Started off my career as the first female harvesting forewoman in the UK, bear with me. So I'm aware of the challenges with regard to working in industries that aren't necessarily have females in them. And then I went on, finally, long story short, to be a director in Sport Ireland. And I had a remit for women in sport, as well as development of participation strategy in Ireland in sport. So about 3 years ago, I'm a bit of a COVID cliche, reflecting on where I wanted to go in my career and reflecting on what we wanted to achieve here at Martinstown Lodge. I was a qualified coach. I had actually encouraged all my managers to train as coaches, and really could see the benefits of how coaching can really help people achieve their goals, people and organizations. So I left my nice cushy career and threw myself off that cliff of self-employment. And yeah, happy to say 3 years on at Martinstown Lodge, we're going from strength to strength. So, and just found out today we've been shortlisted in the top 4 for the RDS Sustainability Awards. So fingers crossed for that.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, it's absolutely amazing. It actually leads me on perfectly to my first question, because it is that Martinstown Lodge has already received national recognition for its innovative approach to leadership and team development workshops. How do you believe this approach, with horses included, contributes to empowering people into leadership roles specifically?
Oh, it's massively, I suppose, based on experiential learning. And again, very passionate about innovation and diversification, not only in rural areas, but also in the equestrian sector. With regard to the leadership and how this empowers people, we do empowerment workshops for female leaders, for women in business, and women who are looking at developing in their careers as well. And fundamentally what it is that non-judgmental, safe environment where the horses will actually reflect back once you are leading them exactly what's working well for you and what is potentially getting in your way. So again, as Poppy was saying, it's not that it's about taking from poor performance to high performance, in whatever sphere that is for you. So it's a very powerful mechanism, because it's not someone telling you, it's not someone challenging you, it's the horses. They don't have a skin in the game, as they say. So it's about tapping into your authentic self, who you really are, the imposter syndrome, etc. So yeah, it's very powerful, and it actually has a stickability. I get calls from clients 2 years later, and it shifts behaviors in the workplace and how people show up there as well.
Wow, that's amazing. You mentioned earlier on that from a senior director in Sport Ireland, I think probably gives you an edge as well in the field that you're in at the moment. But what steps would you recommend businesses could take in order to create a supportive and inclusive environment where people can thrive in both their personal and their professional development journeys?
I think particularly if we're looking at women, females in the workplace, the biggest challenge, I think, is about the flexibility, the flexible approach. I was always very flexible in my approach, because I believe when you give that freedom and flexibility to people, they will give back. So there's a kind of a loyalty there. I believe that, I think there's research that says that leaders are 6.5 times more likely to leave their organization if they don't get coaching and developmental supports from their direct line managers. So there's research there to say that if you don't support people on their journey, and also take into account their personal, challenges, the retention becomes a massive issue. So I think creating that space and listening, and Shane said about listening, that active listening to really what the challenges are. And, I think it's about being authentic as well. And really, it's stripping it back. We've high-level CEOs come out here, and once they go into the arena, the horse doesn't care what they wear, who they are, how much they earn, or what they drive. It brings it back to who we all are. And we all have the resources within ourselves. We just need to get out of our own way, as Poppy said. It is challenging those thoughts and beliefs that aren't serving us. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but really it's about the authenticity. And, it's about, as women as well, supporting each other and being honest. When I was a director in Sport Ireland, I continuously thought they were going to find out that I was actually really bad at my job. I was the ongoing imposter, despite the evidence around me. So, yeah.
I love that. I think it's such a proactive, and it's kind of, you're looking at it from an overview and putting in place to actually help people and empower them. I think that's incredibly necessary, especially for women. I'm going to ask you all the one question, and Poppy, I will start with you, if that's okay. Look, each of our panelists, I think you can probably agree that they're coming from very, very different backgrounds, and applying their skills in their own way upon the industry in itself is inspiring and empowering. But my question to you all is, what do you believe are the most crucial steps that we can collectively take to ensure that women equestrians of different backgrounds and areas of their fields feel supported, valued, and empowered? And this could be applied locally or globally as well, I suppose. Let's think big here. Let's think globally. So what crucial steps can we take collectively as an to encourage them? Poppy, I'll start with you.
Sure. I would say just honest conversations. I think that there is a veil that comes over high performers when it comes to having honest conversations, and that we look at them as kind of superheroes and, you know, maybe people that aren't struggling or have all these supports. But, you know, I'm lucky that I get to know people on a lovely long-term basis. I get to know their family dynamics. I get to know about their relationships. You know, I get to hear all of the different dynamics that are going on within their life, and it's certainly not certainly not all rosy, as they say. So I think, you know, it's very important for high performance people to open up and actually have honest conversations about some of the challenges that they're facing. Often there's just, you know, yeah, it's great, I'm focused on the next competition and this is what I've done and my horse was fantastic, you know, and it's very clinical. And actually I'd love to hear a little bit more reality, because I hear it often. Yeah, I think we all have to start having conversations that support that, you know, and normalize it. You know, I know, for example, there's one girl that's jumping the top end of the sport, and she has 3 children, and has had them all in close proximity, and it all looks super glamorous from the outside, but everybody knows having 3 young children is incredibly challenging when you're at home, let alone a life on the road, you know. And I think having those conversations liberates the people that aren't high performers, that are just living the everyday, and helps them feel that actually, okay, it's not just me struggling, everyone is struggling. Hopefully that's an answer.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And just even when you said it about the liberating feeling that you can give to people by just sharing your story and not having it be potentially, you know, a sign of weakness. If you're saying this is hard, this is what I'm doing, you know what I mean? And,
yeah,
and show a pathway.
Even for me, I have a 6-month-old baby as well, and you know, I often start my calls with, you know, oh, I'm sorry, I'm absolutely exhausted, you know, I didn't sleep at all last night, you know, because I'm vulnerable about the situation that I'm in, you know, and that allows that other person to say, oh, actually I've been feeling really rough as well, you know. So just because I'm a professional doesn't mean that I can't have a vulnerable side and show that I also have struggles too. So I think, you know, it's everyone has a responsibility to show a little bit of vulnerability in
Absolutely it. Shane, I'll pose that question to you.
I think you need a clear picture on where we want to end up with the industry. I think it annoys me that there is no clear picture as to, like, when we done the Hay campaign, people said you couldn't pull the whole industry together. Why? It's mental health. As Poppy's touching on, everybody suffers in some respect. You can't say you don't, or you're touched by people associated to you. Even when you get into suicide, in Ireland is one of the highest suicide rates in Europe for males. Everybody is touched on it. But people said to us at the start you couldn't do it, and we just simply asked simple questions. Do you want to support mental health or not? So I think if you want to get somewhere, you need to know what the destination is, or have a rough idea at least. And as far as I can see, being in the equine industry, there is no clarity on that whatsoever. Where is the industry trying to get to? I get the social licensing side for what I know of it and where they want to get from that perspective. But where does the industry want to get to? What's the pathways we want to create? And then I think the other side of it is you need to disseminate information in a way that it's easily digestible. You need to make it relatable. Shane Rooney's line of, hey, how are you? Simple, brilliantly simple. Hey, how are you? And take the time to listen. So I think the representative bodies have a lot of work to do, and we're in dialogue with a lot of them. Your Why Can't We campaign, Sarah, the change eventing Ireland made with White Jodfers, the mental health campaign, stuff like that is really good, but that's because we had a clear goal, a clear vision of what we wanted to do and how we wanted to execute it. And I think at times the equine industry, be it the representative bodies, be it the people industry, the communities, the sub-communities to the sub-communities, they tend to be a conflict with each other at times, or arguing or fighting, and I'm going, but we're all, and I'll turn myself in that for my explanation, we're all equestrians. We should all be trying to march to the same beat, because the biggest worry, and this was on one of the very first live streams I was ever on with Patrick Hester, and he said, my biggest worry, Shane, is that in 15 years we won't be allowed to sit on horses. That the wider equine, the wider community will not understand, the wider society will not understand. And if that is a worry at the top level, and it seems to be with new rule changes in the FEI, etc., well, then surely that's the starting point. The starting point is, let's educate the wider community. People like me who would have thought you leave your horses out in the rain, and how can we leave them rolling around in the grass and the mud? They're dirty. And now I realise horses are better looked after than people. You will feed the horses first and ye second. You will do it morning, noon, and night, go out in your pajamas in the bottom, in the piss and rain, and thunder and lightning, and rain and hail and snow, and the horses will get mine. And I'm like, I would not have hope could I do it. But I have huge admiration, respect for people like that. It's like being a startup founder. Morning, noon, and night, 24/7, 365. That's what you do. That it's a lifestyle. It's not a job. So to simplify, Sarah, I think we need a clear direction of where we want this industry to end up in 10, 15 years. I think you need to reverse engineer that. I think you need to rally the troops, so to speak. And I think you need to start disseminating content, media series, articles, media brands, us talking about giving our tech, etc. And create a clear line, and then go and execute and relentlessly execute. And like I said, have compassion and understanding along the way. But you have to create a movement if you want to create change. And if you want to create change, you need to know what that change is and where you want it to end up.
Excellent. Emma Jane Clarke.
I would say that, again, repeating what's been said, vulnerability is a superpower. It is a superpower, whether you're a leader or whatever you are in your, I think that's then brings to a relatability. And that's really important. We all want to relate to each other and find a connection. Like there's a lot of research there with regard to why young girls drop out of sport. There's the Women in Sport strategy that's out there that's been run by Sport Ireland. But fundamentally, I think it is about that. And it's about advocacy, more men. Great to see you here tonight, Shane, and hopefully there's more men on the Zoom call. I think inclusion should mean inclusion, not exclusive. And one of the biggest challenges when I traveled internationally for sport in my field was that there weren't enough men at the women's events, and men are our greatest advocates. So they're some of the things that I think that are really important, and role models, but not necessarily always high performance role models. I think, again, that relatability piece of being able to relate to people, participation, that kind of thing as well. So they all are really important at different levels, and acknowledging that as well.
Fantastic. I absolutely love that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the empowerment panel tonight. I hope people and the attendees got a lot from that. I know I did personally. And yeah, really just you were all excelling in your areas of expertise, and it's been an absolute pleasure. We do have some questions in, but for the sake of time, etc., we're just going to make a note of them all and get them answered off camera, if that's okay, that we drop you guys an email later on and move from there. So really appreciate your time and your insights this evening. Now we are moving on to our next keynote speaker of the night. This lady really doesn't need an introduction, let's be honest. But it is time to introduce Lucinda Fredericks. as well as Badminton, Burghley and Kentucky 5-star winner. She is now an incredible coach, and we had the pleasure, the team at Equitas and Grassroots Gazette had the pleasure of working alongside her during the Grassroots Rider Academy last year. We were able to witness firsthand the impact that her coaching had on each individual, not only in the arena, but on the ground as well. And her stories and insights and the powerful explanation, getting her a little bit behind the scenes, was absolutely empowering. So it is no doubt that she is in the right place to follow the empowerment panel for sure. Lucinda, we are absolutely delighted to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, good evening.
Big
Hello.
right.
Hello.
Hi,
Bye.
Ellie.
Hi,
Before
Ellie.
Ellie goes, hi, Ellie.
She's
Hi,
in her
Ellie.
pajamas.
I just
Authentic
texted
self,
Lucinda.
authentic
But you have to
self.
realise that I'm completely illiterate on a laptop and everything.
I
so
just texted Lucinda a minute ago and said Ellie will be coming on the next event.
you get dressed up for it, okay?
Something we need to like.
Yeah, I'll have to call her back when I have to finish, okay?
Sure, okay.
Lucinda, thank you so much again for joining us. Talk to us a little bit about you and what you're here to speak about this evening.
I know it's a bit of a big subject, but I will try to keep it short, which is quite difficult for me. So just very briefly, I was born in Africa. My father was in the army. I didn't have, there was no sort of lovely farm to grow up on. No horsey background. My mum did ride, but happy hacker job. And then basically spent most of my young life sort of going from Germany to the UK with my dad with his postings. Went to boarding school when I was 8 to St Mary's Convent in Dorset, which was really good fun. But I didn't spend a lot of time there because all I wanted to do was to ride. And as a little girl, literally I would just beg, borrow. I'd sit on anything. It was always my dream to ride. How I was going to do it was another matter. So I left school at 16. Didn't do A-levels. Didn't think it was worth my parents spending any more money on my education because I knew that I wasn't going to go to university. And then I did a car maintenance course, bought and sold cars to make some money. And then I did a few buying and selling of lorries, horse boxes, and got a bit of money together. Went to work at different yards. I went to a Showjumper yard. I went to Richard Mead, Harry Mead's father, for 4 months and just worked. Any spare opportunity, I would just go and work. And in the meantime, we rented stables in sort of wherever we were in the saddle clubs, and the longest one was probably Aldershot, the military police stables. I had 2 horses, one that my grandmother bought me, and we did actually sell. We bought a pony for £300 when I was about 10 or 11, and sold it very well, and bought a little German Trakehner mare that I had for 24 years. And Emma Lou was the love of my life. I had it all through my teenage years, ended up doing sort of young riders on her. And from the age of 12, my ambitions were to win badminton, go to the Olympics, and earn enough money to make that happen. How I was going to do, I didn't know, but somehow. So I learned very, very early in life that, to be honest, you always had to be nice to people, because you never know, that you never knew who, might just give you a horse to ride, or give you a ride, or let you watch their horses, anything. Just, always as a kid, my mum was very, very strict, and she was a great support all the way through. So once I sort of got a bit of money together, I rented a yard and just started running it as a business. And it's a hard job. In our world of eventing, it's very, very equal. I think probably if you sort of count the top females and the top males, it's probably pretty equal. But as I went on, I did win, you know, quite a lot in my 20s. I won Blenheim as a 25-year-old, the first initial Blenheim 4-star. And, you know, it's just, you know, when the success happened, you had to really, really take it, because there are many, many more days where you're not successful. And the team around you are really important. My mum was amazing. And I had working pupils right from early on, because I couldn't afford staff. So what I had to do was to have working pupils that wanted to go and, you know, work with me and help me, and then I would help them. And I still do it. How many years later? Probably about, I don't know, 35 years later, I still have a team of working pupils. I've got 4 at the moment, and it's really, you know, rewarding to see those young girls grow. Most of them are girls. I've had the odd boy in it, but where do all the men come from when they get to the top of their game? Because in the lower in the lower years, it's female. I mean, the pony club camps I went to in Germany, you'd have, you know, 100 girls and 10 boys. But I'm not sure whether, you know, having children makes a big difference. I had Ellie when I was 38. And actually, I worked harder, and I had all my major successes having had her. And I think having her made me train harder, be more focused, actually, not take as many risks, and be a little bit more probably just focused. I was always very determined, and having her, I don't know, there was this added incentive to be successful, because then I had more to give her in the long run. So I've been very, very lucky. The biggest asset, I think, for me and I think in our world, you can't do it without the horses. And I would say for sure that Headley Britannia, who came to me to be sold when she was I think 8 coming 9, she wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but we had a relationship, and we made an amazing partnership, because we were both as stubborn as each other and as determined as each other, and we got the best out of each other. You know, the trust and the confidence and the partnership just grew and grew and grew. And you know, she came as a pretty average intermediate horse and turned into this incredible winner, because she just had the heart and the soul and the trainability and the will to win. And she was the first mare in 53 years to win Badminton. And I think Burghley, she was the first mare to win after 36 years. I mean, amazing. And I think she had a massive impact on British breeding, but also educating people to put their trust and put the work into the mares, especially in the UK. There are a lot of people that wouldn't touch a mare. And I think Brit changed a lot of people's attitudes. And you look at a lot of the top riders now, so many of them have got wonderful, wonderful mares. So I can keep talking, but if you want to
I have a couple of questions for you, Lucinda. I'm obviously a mare advocate. I found myself riding mares all the time, and I think that I couldn't agree more with what you're saying with their heart and their soul. As you were talking, I actually wrote down what you said about Brit there. You said she had the heart, soul, the trainability, and the want to win. You have to be able to see yourself in that as well. Would you say that there's a direct correlation between you and Brit in that regard?
Yes. I mean, from an early age, my first pony, I had 2 ponies, you know, they were all tricky. They were all tricky. My first mare, the horse, they were all girls. I mean, I just had mares, and people would send me mares, and in all honesty, I probably had 1 horrible mare, and I've had many, many, many more trickier geldings. I do think there's a respect that you have to give the mares. Of course, you have to respect me as well. But I think it's, I think having an understanding and compromising with the girls, and I think we're all a little bit like that. I mean, I've got my own daughter, you know, I've only got one. I know lots of you have got 2 or 3. I don't know how you manage it, but I was very happy with one. You know, but they are moody, you know, and I truly believe that mares do have, you know, their problems with their, you know, cycles and all the rest of it, just like female humans do. And I think now that the mares can have Regulate, I think that can help. Ironically enough, Brit was never on it. Most of the mares I've had aren't on it. I think they, you know, a lot of them, they just want to be worked. I think like having
I agree.
older,
If you
myself,
understand them.
the more you work them, the better they feel. And I think it's like us, you know, you sit on a sofa all day watching TV, feeling like, you know, a lump of lard, you know, whereas if you exercise and you know, eat fairly healthily, I'm not a healthy eater, but I do naturally exercise every day because that's what my job is. So I'm really lucky. I can eat and I can have a few drinks and, you know, still feel fit and normal. And I think that the females, for me, if I compare myself to Brit, we did, you know, we were very similar in a lot of ways. I used to call her the Queen Mother. She was known. She was quite short and stocky and always smiling, and never gave us any hassle.
I absolutely love that. Another thing that struck me when you were talking there, Lucinda, is only your drive when you were starting out. You knew exactly where you wanted to go and you didn't know exactly how you were going to do it. But obviously through the determination and your ability to adapt to a situation and make it work for you, what would your advice be to somebody starting out now? Or like we would have heard from the speakers earlier on, they took a chance, they took a risk, but what would your advice be to somebody who aspires in similar shoes to you?
Yeah, take every opportunity. If I was put under a lot of pressure by myself, because financially I could never say no to not taking on any of the horses that I got sent. And I would be quite well known for taking on, you know, tricky horses, especially the mares, horses that were a bit strong, a bit awkward, a bit tricky, all the, you know, anything like that. I think if I could go through my life again, I would have been a little bit more choosy and not ridden everything that I got sent, and be a little bit more choosy. But you do have to take those opportunities, and you do, you know, depends on your background. I mean, Ellie's very lucky because she's got me basically running the show. I mean, she works extremely hard and puts a lot of time around her university work, you know, and she's at it the whole time, but she is passionate. But I'm lucky because I've certainly not pushed her into doing it, because I'd be quite happy to sell up and retire and go and have a nice life. But I think taking every opportunity, communicating with people, being, you know, it might be a hassle, but at the end of the day, you've got to talk, you know, and say thank you to the organisers. I mean, I would not want some of their jobs, you know, organising events or competitions or whatever. I mean, they do an amazing job, that all the volunteers, that even just, you know, being polite to people. You never know, you know, one day they might say, oh yeah, you know what, I know somebody who's got a horse, they might send it to you because you were really nice to me that day. Or it's just, I think, communication and understanding. And even if you've had a really rotten day, which of course happens to us all, still keep smiling, because there will be another day. And we do this sport just because of the passion. And I've never lost that passion. Okay, my career was cut a bit short, having a silly riding or teaching accident in America 7 years ago. But I love to you know, to help those young people come up the grades. And if they're not that brave, that's fine. You know, make your goals a reality. And as you get better and you hit that level and you're happy at that level, that's fine. You know, not everyone's going to go to Badminton and Burghley and the Olympics. And if your passion is to get around the B80 or the novice at wherever, fantastic. You can get just as much pleasure out of, you know, doing really well around a much lower level event. And actually, there are big events that I've done very well at, e.g. Badminton. I didn't really enjoy it. You know, the ground was shocking that year. I felt guilty running brick round there, but it was a job, and, you know, we looked after her really, really well. And I was lucky on the day, you know, I won it. And she was fine. And now I've got the pleasure of riding, you know, her grandchildren, or Ellie has. So work hard, be determined, realistic goals, appreciate the people around you, and be safe. Work hard.
That's Sarah. When you were doing the Rider Academy, I was fascinated, you know, ankles in and put your heels down and toes have to go. Watching all of this, still remember it. One of the things, you got the whole crowd behind you, count. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what habits, aligning to Sarah's question, do you think young eventers need to develop? I mean, one of the things that fascinated me was, I think you had him going around Lauren's wonderful facility over in Sligo, world class, and we're in the outside arena, and you have them going around, and they wouldn't stay standing. And I could just see the frustration, and I mean it in a nice way. You were trying to get them to do it the right way, and they just kept sitting back down. And you were like, but you need to be standing. And then I went afterwards, and I was like, I wonder if Lucinda always like this. So then I went and watched loads of videos of you online, and I'm like, every single thing you were telling them to do is literally the way that you write. And I was on, so what other advice, aligning to Sarah's question, habits do young eventers in particular have to develop from a writing perspective, not just from a leadership or from a person perspective, or to build those relationships or the communication, like you said?
So okay. I think everyone, you know, everyone's different. I mean, I was very natural at, you know, sort of seeing distances as a young, like 9, 10-year-old. But to be able to teach the younger person, or the more novice riders, or even the top riders, you know, there's not one hard and fast rule. All I can do to help those guys is to try and explain. I look at them and I say, what would I do if I was riding that horse? And riding is all about feel. And it's hard to teach feel. So you've either, you know, it's like being able to draw or sing or play an instrument or whatever. But all I can do is sort of, they can all ride, but to just add some ingredients into their repertoire, as it were. And I do genuinely try to put my whole heart into teaching people, whether it's a group of 4 or 2 or individuals. But I watch and I imagine, if I was riding that horse, what would I do? And I then try and pass that on, try and keep it simple. And the reason I get them to count is purely just to ride a rhythm. That's all. I don't care what they count to. That's how I think people, you know, if you dance or you sing or you play an instrument or whatever, how do you do that rhythm? Well, you have to count.
I love it.
So, you know, I can try and pass that on as a trainer. And you're right, you know, visual training is really, really important as well. So even if you're not actually physically doing the exercise yourself, watch other people and you can learn so much.
Well, for someone who's never ridden a horse and doesn't plan on it anytime soon, if I can still remember some of the lessons you gave through the Grassroots Rider Academy, you didn't do the
We had
best.
fun, didn't we?
Yeah, you had impact in some way. Sorry, Sarah, I had to ask that.
No, I'm
somebody-
laughing because one of the phone calls during that time was Shane ringing me up going inside leg to outside brain. I was like, excuse me? What have you done with Shane?
Yeah, what are you sitting on?
I told you, Lucinda is an influencer. She has influenced me. We can't wait to have her back for season 2. We're going to do some amazing things.
Absolutely. Listen, if you have a question in here, have you ever struggled or dealt with imposter syndrome, either during your first 5-star event or even perhaps at the Olympics?
Imposter.
Imposter syndrome.
Okay. No. Oh, maybe. It's a long time ago, isn't it?
I love that though. So if you're not sure that you had imposter syndrome, chances are you didn't. All right. So
Okay. Okay.
what led you? Was it the preparation and the confidence that you had done everything that you possibly could do ahead of those events that would lead to that?
I think if your preparation is to the best that you could do, all you can do is go out on the day and ride your best. Ironically enough, neither of the Olympics were great for me, and not due to my fault, due to outside influences. So I had a lot of added stress rather than just having that real selfish way of focusing on yourself and your horse. And don't forget, with the riding and in any sport with a horse, it's a 2-man job, isn't it? And I truly believe horses do wake up with a bit of backache or a bit of a headache or feeling a bit sore in the guts or a bit muscly, so knowing your horse as best as you can, and having it feeling the best, and trying to take whatever routine you have at home, take that all the way through to the day of competition. Try not to let any outside influences affect you. So the focus and the confidence of knowing your horse and knowing that you are as fit as you can. And obviously Brit was tiny, so I used to get quite skinny when I rode her. And I was really fit. She was really fit. So it was easy to start the competition like that, but the nerves would come just I didn't want to let her down. And that was, I hated the thought that I would let my horse down. That was probably the toughest thing I dealt with. And when I got nervous, I used to get busy. Some people go to sleep, some people rest, somebody watch TV, some people read a book, whatever. I used to just sweep. Sweep and clean, probably. Yeah. That was the way I dealt with it.
I don't think you've said anything more equestrian.
What new questions like this week, by the way? What's the we saw it straight up as well. Yeah,
it gives you brain space, and there's something. It's like watching, in my opinion, it's like watching a fire. It has that kind of relaxing, monotonous kind of vibe to it. You should try it, Shane.
I plan on not trying it. Aoife Brady's in with a question before we wrap up with Lucinda. Aoife, can you see that?
Say that again.
Aoife's in with a question. I said before we wrap up with Lucinda.
Oh, I see it there now. One may often say that the secret to life is inside rein to outside leg. But what is top tip? I'd say she means inside leg to outside rein. But what is your secret to competition nerves? Perhaps
what's the question? What's
the top tip and secret to competition nerves?
Oh, being as best prepared as you can.
Love it.
And this is me talking, which they will honestly downstairs, they will just kill themselves. Don't be late.
I thought we were friends, Lucinda. I thought we were friends.
Yeah. Yes. Late. So being I think everyone will get nervous, and I think it's good to be nervous, providing it's, you know, controlled. But if you know, if you are so well prepared, not overtrained, because you can overtrain, but you know, trying to keep your whole routine the same, and as consistent with your horse as you can, and being well prepared. And one thing that I do, if I'm getting up anywhere in the morning and I know I've got to get up, whatever, and go to work or go to an event or go for a meeting, whatever, I am always packed and ready the night before, because I've had too many times where something has hit me in the morning, whether it's a phone call or a breakdown or whatever, and I haven't got enough time. So that's one thing I have learned, is always be prepared the night before. And then, you know, if you get stuck with something, then you've got at least half a chance. Yeah. And don't buy a lorry to break down.
Yeah, solid advice there. Lucinda, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this evening. It has really been, and I mean, I'd say we could probably keep going all night if we could, but we do have to let you go at some point. So really appreciate
We have to make sure that you know, because Aoife and Lucinda have met, and Aoife is a huge fan of Lucinda. So Aoife said she did mean inside leg to outside rein. Baby brain has kicked in. Thanks, Sarah. Just so you know,
okay, I got your back, Aoife, don't worry.
even I know there, because I was messing.
You'll all be dreaming about it tonight. Thanks for having me anyway, and I'll see you all soon.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks so much.
No,
Bye.
Remove
What do I do?
No, you're okay, Lucinda. I'll do it here. Just give me 1 second, so you don't have to worry about it. Thank you. You've been a star. We'll be in touch soon.
Now, ladies and gents, we are moving on to the final panel for the evening, and this is our Women at Work panel. We have, well, Therese Murphy from Equied unfortunately can't join us. She was scheduled to come on, but her twins are not settling for the night, so we know how that can be, and she is phenomenal for even being with us for part of this. But we'll definitely organize a live stream or something with her to be able to pose any questions that come in, so just bear that in mind, that will be a follow-up there. But we are now joined by Liz. She is the co-founder of Equiteam and part of the team at Rider Mind, and we also have Jennifer Williams on board with us as well this evening. She is the creative behind the app that is called App Equine, and it's a stable management app. So ladies, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Apologies that we're running a little bit behind schedule, but you know, we like to chat, and I'm sure you guys do too, so how are you both?
I'm good. I'm very luminous. Apologies. I think it's the light in here. I'm not actually an alien.
Don't worry, if you want us to embarrass, watch, I'll put my head like this and I go bald. So don't worry about it. You can be luminous, I'll go bald. We're in it together. Don't worry about it.
I've been listening for quite a while. I did notice, Shane, that you kept losing your hair, but
yeah, it just seems to just we're okay. We'll be good.
What a fabulous discussion.
Anyway.
I've loved tonight. It's been amazing. So many fabulous people, and loads of really good feedback and conversations.
Thank you so much. While we were talking, Liz, do you want to introduce yourself and let everyone know a little bit more about you and Equiteam?
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us on. Yes, I'm Liz Daniels. I am 1/3 of the Equiteam ladies. Equiteam is an online membership open to everyone, not just ladies, but we help to support, encourage everybody into the sport and to progress and provide a very safe community with lots of learning resources as well with that. My background is as a groom, a show jumping groom. I've worked with horses since I don't know when, ridden competitively. I'm an equestrian coach, and I work in social media, marketing and PR as well.
Absolutely fantastic. we've spoken a little bit before about the background of Equiteam and how it came about, and obviously tonight is the International Women's Day, the theme being Inspire Inclusion. So talk to us a little bit about how Equiteam actually formed. You mentioned before about the need for a connection, the camaraderie, and for basically kind of having what fundamentally ended up being women supporting women.
Yeah, I feel like we've just been very lucky this International Women's Day, because that is exactly why Equiteam was formed. We created some confidence camps up in Scotland, predominantly ladies, although it is open to gentlemen as well. And just by the very fact that we named them confidence camp, it gave people the ability to come to these camps with their horses and receive the coaching. But I think they'd already let us know that they were suffering with, you know, varying levels of confidence from the outset, and it really broke down the barriers. And without sounding big-headed at all, we got so busy we just couldn't fulfill the demand, because coaching's not my full-time job, which was an amazing position to be in. But we wanted people to feel included and inspired and motivated and part of that community in between the camps, and that's how the membership was born. And to give the ability to be able to spread it closer, so wider than the kind of close region that we had formed, we wanted to be able to spread a little bit of support throughout the UK. And having that safe space is so important for people to be able to say, you know, I'm having a really bad day, and celebrate the wins. I think actually we've spoken a lot about the authenticity, but sometimes it's hard to celebrate wins on social media without sounding really big-headed and like you're, you know, blowing your own trumpet. And this is, you know, a community where people go, do you know what, I actually bossed it today, and everyone's like, yay, that's amazing, rather than going, oh my God, like she's a really big-headed, you know, person. But equally can say, oh my God, like I've been doing really well at my dressage, but I'm absolutely crap in it for jumping, you know, this. So it provides a safe space, and there's lots of chat about women issues, you know, in terms of perimenopause, menopause being a massive one. And I feel like the whole industry is starting to talk more and be more inclusive. And, you know, years ago as a coach, well, it wasn't coaching, it was instructing, and we used to be terrified of our riding instructors, and you know, everything has changed. I feel into this coaching where I always say it's a three-way conversation between, you know, the person, the horse, and myself, and it's a dialogue. Whereas I remember being terrified of my instructor when I was, you know, when I was growing up. And things are evolving, aren't they? And to be more inclusive, and that includes, you know, being okay with how you genuinely feeling, and back to that authenticity piece, which I enjoyed, you know, listening about.
That, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I love hearing people differentiate the difference between the previous ways of, an inverted commas, coaching or instructing, and then the new kind of ways of having that dialogue. And it's really important. But you have mentioned about being a groom for an international groom, but with that experience in mind, what advice would you offer for women aspiring to break through, I suppose, the old traditions or the old glass ceilings, and being able to make the industry more inclusive as a whole, but from the other side of it, perhaps?
It's a really good question. I feel like I can come from this in two angles, because I spent many years working for the British Groomers Association, and I was so passionate. I loved being a groom. I still go back and do the odd grooming day at a local yard, because I just love being with the horses. I love riding different horses. I just think it's brilliant. I love that team feeling. From a personal point of view, the biggest piece of advice would be, I don't know how politically correct I need to be on this panel, but keep okay, don't sleep with your boss, you know, literally, like, because there's so much
solid advice.
Yeah,
you know,
on board with that.
It's having those layers of respect, and I think knowing where those boundaries are kind of straight away, and that in itself earns respect, that you have very clear boundaries, and that means everything from, you know, the personal boundaries to the working boundaries to having the confidence to say, I've not had a day off in, you know, quite a while. Like everything has changed, everything has evolved, and that's come from many different ways. But for me, I didn't find being, you know, a woman in that environment any different to being a guy in that environment. It was, you were good at your job and you were supported within that. And being a groom taught me so many transferable skills. I mean, I think my whole career, I was a professional groom before I went to university to do the journalism, the marketing, the PR sides. And I think, you know, that it gave me so many skills I did not even know that I had at the time until it came, you know, from later life. And I think, you know, the biggest piece of advice you could give to anyone is, again, be authentic and work hard. And you have to work hard. We're not naturally good at everything we turn our hands to, and that is totally okay. But it's okay to ask for help and support as well.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important. You've given some really good, solid advice there. But one of the things that you said that it kind of dropped a penny with me was that the confident, or you mentioned boundaries and having those boundaries, but you also said to have the confidence to enforce those boundaries and to stick with those. So I think what you're doing with Equiteam and encouraging people to have the confidence then leads to them having the boundaries and the respect and basically the empowerment that you're talking about. I think that's really, really special, having the background to what you've had and then bringing forth to what you're instilling, and then where it could go. Is
Sarah, can I ask you a question here?
Of course, yeah.
Do you think, and this is probably to all of you, but I'll start with you, Liz, on this. Do you think that equestrians know how to set boundaries? And do you think if they do know that they're afraid to do it based on pathways that could be opened up or closed off if those boundaries aren't put in place? Because as someone who comes into the industry, I'm looking at it going, there's so much we need to change here if we want to really move this forward. And a lot of that is boundaries, literally focused on boundaries directly or indirectly.
I think that's a brilliant question, Shane. And I think that we as an industry are a bit guilty of, you know, we do things because that's just how it's always been done, you know. And I think that research is an incredibly valuable resource, whether it's scientific research around the mental health piece, research around working conditions, and it's making the industry take a step back. And it's a unique industry, I think, the equestrian industry, because we're also emotionally involved. You know, I ride a mountain bike, not very well, but, you know, I put my mountain bike in the shed over winter and I don't go and give it a pat and a cuddle and make sure it's like got hay and feet. You know, you don't have the attachment. And with that, I think brings additional emotions. But things are, you know, the employment side, the British Grooms Association and the Equestrian Employers Association, they've done amazing, you know, in their work and their what they're doing. But, you know, even looking at the bigger kind of member bodies, you know, and how they're progressing and modernizing. British Dressage, for example, you know, over here doing amazing work, really modernizing and not looking at, you know, well, we used to do that like 500 years ago when, you know, my granny's granny did it like that. We're now looking
Tradition versus progression.
Totally, and it's needed. And you're right. I think that as an industry, we can be a little bit in the Stone Age, and we don't necessarily like change. And it takes for people like yourself to come in, or for, you know, dare I say, bad things to happen for people to go, hang on a minute, we need to do something, you know, different here. So yeah, I think it's great when we can be in a position where we can talk about it, we can talk about making changes and then implement the changes as well.
I love that. Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to see how you look at it. Love it.
Jennifer, thank you for joining us. I'm going to come over to you.
Hello, it's nice to see you all again.
I know. We met Jennifer initially at the National Equine Show last year, so it was probably around this time last year as well. It was brilliant.
It was good fun.
Jennifer, tell us a little bit about you and App Equine.
So yeah, I'm Jennifer Williams. I'm the co-founder of App Equine, which is a care management app, which was a gift. Well, it started off as a gift from my other half to support me looking after my horse, which turned into a business. And I'm sure to this day he probably regrets. But yeah, so we started Equine during COVID as a tool to help me manage my horses. So where that comes from is I'm dyslexic, dyscalculic, dyspraxic. So that's not easy for me to say for all of the reasons why I have those learning differences. And I find that under pressure and generally I have poor memory, and I'm not very good at remembering data, I'm not very good at specifically remembering numbers and things. So my horse got poorly, stressful situation, obviously very emotional, and in comes the information, you know, this amount of drugs on this day, not before this time, and after this day, and turn out, and it just all got a bit foggy and a bit cloudy for me. So, and that was the start of Equine, where he tried to make something that would help me to be reminded of this information. And then COVID hit, and we had a bit of spare time in our day and our evenings, and then into the later mornings as it started to progress. And we thought, actually, we've got something here that could really help a lot of people. And although I have learning, well, people call them learning disabilities, I don't particularly like that phrase. I just learn differently to other people. Everybody learns differently, everybody remembers differently, everybody processes things differently. So the aim of Equine has always been to just make things really simple, to make it really supportive, and to make it really open and accessible to everybody else. So that's where Equine came from. It's not my full-time job. I'm severely jealous of everybody on this call that does it as a full-time job. I'm actually a learning and development manager. So for my full-time job, I look at how adults learn and do a similar sort of thing in a different profession. So very sort of at the core, just recognising that actually everybody's just different.
That's 100% why we are all here celebrating tonight. Everybody is different. Everyone has different needs, different requirements. And what I love about that is that you took your own experience and developed into something that can be utilized by people. Is there more that you're doing as an industry, as a collective, to improve that?
Can you say that again?
Is there more that we can be doing as an industry, as a collective, to actually open the door further for people? And I'm not saying necessarily the exact same position as you, but similarly.
I think, you know, a lot of the people that we've spoken to today are, you know, very talented people. They're at the top of their game. They're either riding at the top of their game or they're running really great businesses. I think my passion has always kind of been for that everyday happy hacker person that works their arse off to pay for the love of their life. And I think that's where my heart lies. And I think potentially in all of the equestrian industry, we have people who have different learning needs or haven't found themselves academically lent in what they wanted to do. And I do think, you know, we could be a little bit more recognizing of the fact that we need to be accessible in the things that we offer out, in the things that people can engage with, and just put it up there and recognize that actually it's a kinesthetic business. We're all here because we want to do horses, and that will encourage people like me who weren't academic in the first right. But ultimately, when I look at where I think we need lots of attention was, you know, when I was at school and I really struggled and I was labelled as perhaps being a bit thick, not really achieving in my classes. I had after school tutors who just were never going to make a difference, all that kind of good stuff. You know, where were the kinesthetic subjects? Where was, you know, the STEM subjects? You know, where was apprenticeships? Where were all of those other things that could have inspired me to do something different? You know, I'm really lucky I found horses. I went and I trained as a groom, and that was what I sort of went and applied myself for. But I'm dyspraxic. I was never going to be a great horse rider. Honestly, it's like watching Jelly sit on top of a horse and just being scared about when it was going to hit the floor. But I was a hard worker and I loved what I was doing, so I applied myself. And I think the key message from me tonight is you don't have to be a great rider. You don't have to have you know, the money to have your own horses, you've got something to give, you've got something to offer. And if it's because you're a little bit, you know, thinking about something a little bit differently or approaching something a little bit differently, then actually I think you've got more to give than you actually think.
Do we, the media, have to be better? Like, do we, the media, have to be better at telling these stories, showcasing these journeys, showcasing that people are at different levels. They've done different levels of schooling, they've done different levels of ailments they may have. They may have ADHD on one side, they may have dyslexia on another side, they may have whatever. But do us at Equitas, companies like us, media brands within the equine industry, have to be better at showcasing and telling those stories, so that the people on the way up, the next generation, are going to look at this and go, that sounds like me.
I think this hidden disability thing is a massive thing that we can talk more about, and learning difference. I don't think we talk a lot about learning difference specifically. Obviously I've got a few few different labels and titles, but I know loads of people with ADHD and ADD and autism and Asperger's and all these wonderful things. But if you strip it all back, it just comes back down to people being different. And I think for me, again, it's about championing those people that are just going out, loving their ponies, not riding at high levels, but just doing horses and just loving it and being in that environment. And you've talked an awful lot about mental health, you know, and the things that you know happen in life that cause us to have mental health moments that sort of and I think when you have learning differences or these hidden disabilities, potentially that hits a little bit harder sometimes. It makes life a little bit more tricky. But yeah, I think the fact that we're even having this conversation is a great path, isn't it?
I like that.
Jennifer, if you could go back to being that girl in school and being the teenager and going through all the different bits and pieces that you went through, what would you tell yourself from all your wealth of knowledge and experience now? What would you go back to tell that girl?
That it didn't matter that I wasn't the best. I think I'm extremely competitive, always have been, and I probably put myself down when I'm not the best. I wasn't the best rider, didn't have the best clothes, didn't turn up in the best riding hat, you know, everything. I didn't come from money, I didn't have the ability to have the best at anything. But it doesn't matter if you're not the best, it matters if you care enough to work hard at it. You know, you laughed about sweeping, and I couldn't relate to that more than anything in the world, because I was not the best horse rider, but I was the groom that would leave that yard immaculate.
Shane doesn't know what to make of this now.
The fact that Sarah Murren and whatever about these are looking at you in adoration and that you left it, that's what I'm laughing at. Is one, you're very proud and happy with it, and two, they're like bullet, like this first standing ovation of the night, best sweeper.
But I was never going to be the gifted person. I was always going to be the one that worked the hardest. So, but when you're younger, you can't see that, can you? When you're younger, it's hard to see the future. So,
hindsight has 20/20 vision. Liz, what do you think that you would tell your younger self if you could go back and tell that girl now?
To believe in yourself, I think. Yeah, I just loved listening to Jennifer, and I feel very, you know, similar to you, Jennifer, in that it's the passion that matters, and it's the working hard, and to realize that, you know, that is with the Equiteam community as well, that, you know, that it's amazing. I find huge inspiration in people like, you know, Lucinda and Ros Cantor and Piggy and Charlotte, but I am never going to be, you know, and it's not through lack of hard work, it's not through lack of dedication. I'm just not, but actually that's okay. And I think that's part of the ethos that we have in Equiteam, that we use riders like me who have got skill sets in different areas, because it's real life, and we're not aspiring to be the best, we're aspiring to be better, and we, you know, we're together in that journey of learning, and we show all the bad bits, like the bits where, you know, you clatter through the poles and the horse is literally like bronking on the other side, and, you know, because that is real life. And, you know, and I really believe passionately that although I'm not a great advocate in the social media where you constantly see people falling off, because I think that has a very negative mindset kind of impact as well. But I do think that it is real life, and it exactly that. It doesn't matter if you're not the best, just work hard. And I think that is what I tell myself. Just believe. Yeah. Just believe, because we're all here because we're bonded by horses. Maybe not Shane, because he just thinks we're all a bit we're all a bit
off kilter for Shane.
I'm sending messages to see can I get sweeping lessons starting tomorrow.
We're bonded by horses and sweeping.
I'm in it for the people. I'm in it because of people like you who do really cool stuff. And people like Sarah Myrna will love partnering with. Yeah, I think my former business partner used to have a question, and I'd be curious to see is what you're doing now. He used to say, if you could click your fingers and change one thing about the equine industry, what would it be? Is your endeavors that body on, is that the thing you would fix? Or is that what you're fixing now and there's something else you may fix later?
I personally would take out the unnecessary bitching in the industry, because it doesn't benefit anyone. It has a really negative, effect. And being in positions where you've seen people, we'll just use livery yards as an example because of the collection of people, but it happens everywhere. There is no need. We're all there for the same reasons. We're all there because we love our horses and we love the sport, and it doesn't matter what level you compete at or don't compete, the love and the passion is still there. So if I could click my fingers and take out, it would be every single person that doesn't think before they speak and is malicious in what they say.
Love it. Absolutely love it. What about you, Jennifer?
You're going to ask me that. I like Liz.
I'm nearly sure I could have asked you this at the National Equine Show last year, by the way. I'm nearly sure it's on an interview. I was sitting at the top table in the high chairs. Nearly sure.
What would I take away? I would take the barriers to horses away. I think there are still significant financial and geographical barriers to horses for people to access. I was extremely lucky that I came across horses when I was a teenager. My family are not horsey at all. It was just a friend who was at a local stables. It wasn't a riding stables or anywhere. I didn't have a riding lesson until the first time I sat on a horse when I went to college. I just kind of muddled my way through. So I think just take the barriers away so that people can actually get involved. Someone mentioned earlier, and it couldn't be more true, it's not just about the riding and all the things we learn around being around horses, around empathy and compassion and communication and hard work and getting up in the morning even if you don't want to, and being out in the rain even if you don't want to. There's so many life lessons there that if we took the barriers away, I think a lot more people could probably benefit from those.
And I think that probably very much aligns to the whole team of International Women's 24. Inspire inclusion, remove those barriers. I love it. Sarah?
Love it. It is time to kind of wrap up a little bit and say goodbye. Ladies, thank you so much. It's been a real honor to have you on the panel. I do believe that we probably could continue this conversation for a lot longer. I love the insights that you're bringing forward. I love what you're doing, and the changes that you are making, active changes that you're making, and the impact that you're having on the industry. So thank you once again for your time tonight.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
You've been awesome. Thank you. You'll be removed back to attendees now, I think, in a second. All going well. So far, so good. I think we're nearly in of it, are we?
I think we are technically quite over time, but yes, it is now time to kind of the Equitas wrap up.
Just one comment that has come in, lads, just before we do the wrap up. Amazing event, guys. Loved every minute. History being made right there by women. Now.
Love it. Thank you very, very much.
I will be constituted as a woman once I learn how to do all of the other stuff you're teaching us tonight. This has been savage. Yeah, really good. Partners over to wrap it up.
I'm just going to come in and thank everybody for their support that they've given Equitas so far. The future that we have here and the plans that we have, the expectations that we have for ourselves to deliver on what we say. is high. Exciting things are coming. This has been our first event on, and we do have another event planned for a couple of months' time, more in person. We want to be seen, not just online. We want to be seen in person, that tangible, the presence that we want to have, and thus the impact that we want to have. We are deadly serious. We want to be held accountable. We want to keep the dialogue open and the discussions open. We want to hear more about what you're doing, champion you, and all the women in the equine industry. This is just the beginning for us, and we are very, very grateful for your support tonight, your understanding for any tech issues and a bit of delays, of course, but also just the bigger picture of supporting us and being there for each other. That's what this is about.
I would very much like to echo the words of Sarah. Tonight was huge for us. It's the start of something absolutely amazing. Equitas has been all powerful and all encompassing the whole way through, and always will be. But we want to be there for you. So if we don't know, then we can't be. So tell us, come talk to us. Tell us what you want. Tell us what you'd like us to do. Tell us what you'd like to see. And we will do our very, very utmost complete best to inspire change together.
I love that. Am I supposed to wrap this up now? This is supposed to be air finish, like.
No, go ahead.
Okay,
I've
just
had,
say it, like.
I've only one thing to say. We are the media. That's the thing I'll say. We are the media. We're new. You're equestrians. I don't know much about horses. We're the media, but we have the chance to redesign the media here. And the only way we can do that is by what Sarah Murn said. That's me, though. Thank you all for joining us. First of many events here at Equitas. I will stop recording now. Well, we need to finish up. International Women's Day Inspire Inclusion 2024, Equitas' first ever online event. That is a wrap, folks.